listeners, you're tuning in to the Scouting Australia podcast for the round table, the last episode of the year of us all getting together, the last informative one of the year. We're definitely not cutting off before that, Kel. Producer Kel, I'm going to cut you if you cut that. Guys, we are rocking, we're rolling, we are ready to go. We've got some big guns in the studio. The first of which I would love to introduce Luke Teeuwsen, mate. How are you, buddy? Welcome back.
Good to be back, mate. It's a bit hot here on the Gold Coast, but other than that, we're sweet.
You know what I heard, Lukey, man? People told me after the boot camp, when you and Nick Fowler got up on stage and you guys were razzing, you were fast in the boot camp to make up a bit of time. Mate, the amount of people that wrote in and said, why doesn't Lukey talk like that on the podcast? When Lukey comes on, I have to go to 3x speed. 3x speed so I don't fall asleep. And now when we're in this thing, I have to slow him down to half speed because he's so juiced up and G'd up. Mate, what do you reckon?
Oh, bro, the only reason we had to speed up was because there was so much waffle before us. That's why we had to go so fast.
Wow! He's out with a bang. The big boy's ready to go, ready to rumble. Lukey, that was a good one.
Jeez, it started fast and furious.
Jimmy,
I don't know.
Jimmy, it's not your turn to talk yet. Paulie Dem, mate, welcome back.
We're
the
back.
big rig.
We're back.
How are you, buddy? Mate, we're juiced today, bro. It's the aircon. Yeah. It's the aircon. It's the heat. It's the Gold Coast mugginess, mate. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. There was no hot water, so
ice bath, mandatory ice bath, brother. Fuck, you know, how you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Ready to rumble?
Yeah, ready to go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Morgs, welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Moving. How you going? How's everything been? How was the summit? How was the boot camp?
It was really cool. It was like crazy to meet clients who've been around for like 5-6 years. And hear about some of the results they've achieved and like especially some of the sales. It was like they were up 5, 6, 700,000, which is pretty insane. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really. I'm with you. Like I think on the boot camp, I think we hung around for about two hours, and then after that, the summit, and after the boot camp, we're all around for like 3-4 hours post, just talking to all these clients. And I know Paulie, you were saying the same thing, man. Like people came up thanking you for almost talking them into taking deals or explaining why we're taking deals. And then 6-12 months down the track, they're literally thanking you for the hundreds of thousands that they've made on even on individual deals, let alone multiples, right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy to see. Like that's what I was saying to Rebecca when I got home. Like you really forget the impact that you're having on people, and then you have a chat to them. Everyone's made a few $100,000 or even more. Yeah, it's just crazy to see.
I love it, man.
Now, a lot of people are actually asking, are you a Greek prince or a king? Because everywhere you walked around the boot camp, you had this harem of followers. I don't know if that was security detail.
What are these husbands and wives?
They were all sorts
Rebecca
of people.
is this why she wasn't invited?
You had a posse of about 4 or 5 following you around. So
well, when you do that many deals, it's a heavy weight to carry along.
Look at his shoulders. They're slumped, brother. All the weight. There's so much weight on his shoulders.
A man of few words but big actions. You couldn't go missing in this boot camp. Everyone knew who you were, and they were finding. They wanted to chat to the big Paulie Dem. It's great
they brought
to see
out what do they call it? The chalet, whatever they carry on the shoulders to carry him around.
They
I told them to put it away.
They
like
did.
safe for special occasions.
Well done, Paulie.
Well done, guys.
People did say you were a catfish though. They said they looked
the
at
height.
your signature and they were like, is that him?
Actually, you do look super suave in that signature. You look like a bum from the bus stop.
and about 2 feet shorter as well.
That is a very sharp photo, actually.
Yeah,
When was that?
I don't know. That was probably 10 years ago. To be honest.
I was going to say, if it was recent, we need the details because we need to make Jimmy look good.
100%. Get some AI onto it at least.
Bro, even AI couldn't fix you. And the final piece of the puzzle is Mr. Brendan Geoghegan, mate. How are you, big fella?
I'm really good. Thank you for all the extra chat. It gave me time to pull the microphone down. Sharing with Luke Teeuwsen again, mate. It points to the ceiling, so it gave me a bit of extra prep. I appreciate it.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful, mate. Head of education, self-titled.
Yes.
At School of Property.
I did get that at the boot camp a lot.
Did you? People were ripping you?
Yeah. They were ripping me hard. So
you were very busy with the mentoring program, Brendo, haven't you? You've been flat out. A lot of people, a lot of inquiries.
Yeah, 100%. It's been fun, man. Speaking with people from 12 months ago and seeing them do 5, 7, 10 deals, 500, $1 million in equity has been so fun. So,
a lot of people actually asking, should you be doing those monthly webinars? Because you started the mentoring program. You were at 20 minutes in on that video. A lot of great feedback. They thought, why get Sammy on
100%.
when we got Brendo? So, mate, new gig.
New gig, done. Yeah.
Done.
Beautiful. I'll get my Thursday nights back. Long weekends every week. Don't expect me back till Monday. Jimmy, final
Sammy.
piece of the puzzle
You know what?
has been filled. You can now
No.
leave, please.
It is great to have everyone here. What's even better is that we've decided to do Bikram podcast. So it's
100%.
absolutely scorching in this studio. Everyone is sweating bullets here.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually, if they could only see under the table, everyone's got their pants off because it's so hot.
Pants off Friday. We're fucking on.
It is bloody boiling in here, but as long as you're looking good, we're
Jimmy,
happy.
There's something that we all needed to say to you. This is actually an intervention. You've had so many holidays this year.
I think-
bro, you need to get back into the gym.
We have broken a new level. Holy
Mate,
shit.
we're
If you're
on.
still tuning in, what have you tuned into? What are we
I
doing
don't
here?
know. What ahead? I don't know, mate. I'm not too sure. But guys, this is the end of year roundtable. We are amped up. It's funny because we've still got a month's worth of work left ahead of us from here. But we're doing a roundtable, a recap. We've been a little bit light on for the roundtables this year. I think this will be the third. Yeah, the third one I think that we did. But yeah, man, it's been a minute and I'm pumped up to go through a bit of a recap. We've obviously got some different bodies from across the board. People bringing some different value from different positions, being both buyers agents, BA manager, head of strategy, head of education. I don't know what you do.
Here for the good looks.
Now, Jimmy, as always, end of year round table. We're in this thing to do a recap
Yes,
of what's happened in the
we
year
are.
to date.
Yes,
What's
we
been going
are.
on, mate? What's been happening?
I love this joke. It never gets old, Timmy. It never gets old. But the great thing about the round table
Yes.
is this is the one time I don't have to produce any notes because we've got such a brains trust of people here. We've got Paulie's flown up all the way from Melbourne to be here. Morgs, she's back on.
we had to
Brendo,
charter a jet because
Lukey,
no one else was coming. We had to charter a jet to individually bring him up,
for the harem.
mate, with the harem. All right? We had to get a big
But
jet.
I am genuinely. I love these round tables because this is when we can do a quick recap. We touch on all the high notes and the people that really making things happen within APS. Obviously, there's a big team, but a lot of the people here. I'm keen to hear Paulie's stuff. You know, he's probably the busiest buyers agent in the country, that's for sure. Obviously, Lukey on the strategy side. Morgs is doing some incredible things in the business, and head of education, well, you never stop learning. I don't know what you're doing, driving around in fancy cars.
100%,
But who do you want to start with? Who do you want to start
I want to
with?
start with you.
What do you want from me?
How many holidays did you go on? How many days did you actually work? What value did you bring?
I didn't bring a lot of value and try to go on as many holidays as I could. Not as many as you, though.
This year?
Yeah, come
What are
on.
you talking about, bro? What are you talking about?
Didn't you go on holidays?
No. Went to Bali twice for a week. I did a couple of long weekends in Queenstown. That was nice.
you did.
And that was a long weekend in Dubai, but that was business, all right?
No,
Business
well,
pleasure. Actually, I think every holiday, let's just be clear now, both Bali trips, they were APS sales retreats.
I was not
Queenstown
there.
Yeah, because you aren't part, like, I don't know what you do, bro. Like, why would I bring you to that? I don't know what you do. What, you just come to the Christmas ones with everyone because it's like, I don't know what he does.
I don't think anyone knows what I do, to be honest.
You know what? What are we going to be
Either
doing,
does
mate?
my
Let's
family.
kick
They
it
don't
off.
know.
Mate,
Anyway, let's
we're
kick it
all
off.
over the place.
We
I
are.
want to hear from Paulie
Let's
Dem.
go.
The man, the myth, the legend, the harem, the chalet.
The
Mate,
Greek
what's
god.
happened this year? The Greek god.
Yeah, it's just gone crazy, to be honest. It's been a crazy year.
Thank you for your input, Paulie Dem. Lukey, bro. No. Talk to me, man. Crazy year. Talk to me
Yeah.
through this.
No, just it's just been like a lot of the markets that we've been in, been going crazy. The markets that we pulled out of are still going crazy. Yeah, just crazy.
Talk to me. This is crazy. It's Clint's crazy bargains. Oh, yeah, this guy could be Clint's crazy bargains from back in the day. So, man, talk to me about, you're talking about the craziness, right?
Yeah.
Like, first and foremost, man, let's talk about the markets we exited from.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, what have we seen really as a transition, as a shift this year from the markets we've exited and that you
Yeah.
were buying in, let's say last year, the year
Yeah.
before. What have we seen, man? Because you and I are very active investors, hold a lot of property in there, in those markets as it is now. What have we seen? What have we witnessed after the fact?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we're talking about off air. Like, that's been the biggest surprise to me, is that the markets that we've exited have really grown a lot further into the cycles than what we thought. I was planning to maybe sell out a couple of those markets the end of this year, and I've vacated a couple of the properties and I've released them
Yes.
because the quarterly growth rates are still so strong.
Myself as well, yeah.
So that's been the most surprising thing to see from those markets that we've exited, which, a lot of other investors exited as well. But it just seems to be the case that the growth just keeps being sustained by a lot of local demand and supply, further than what I thought.
Can we talk about those markets, Sammy? I mean, if we exited them, are you comfortable talking about them?
No, I reckon we keep a little bit under wraps on that side of things. But man, let's talk about, like, why do you think in terms of the actual continual growth rate from that perspective as well? What do you think are the biggest things in terms of why? So you were talking about the local demand, local
Yeah.
buyer. Talk to me about the pressure that's been retained from that perspective too.
Yeah, I just think that the appetite for investment across the country is continues to increase. And a lot of these markets, because we entered them at such a low base, they are still at a level that represents a lot of affordability to the local capital. And then, you combine that with a lot of a bit of a change in purchasing structures, and especially at that lower levels, sub, say, 700K, even sub 800K, there's a lot of capital that's still flowing into these markets. And I think that is what continues to drive them further than what we thought they would go.
100%. Man, I think it's an interesting thing to sort of dissect. And I will actually revert back to Jimmy's question before around areas. And man, I think it's okay to dive into it. I thought I'd hold off on it. But I mean, realistically, and you can run through some numbers of some areas you were talking about as well. But man, I think it's an interesting piece because I don't believe the growth runs are done there either. There's a lot of additional impetus and demand on those locations. There's still strong projects there. The income to house price ratios are still extremely affordable. Hence why we're still seeing massive demand and growth from both a local buyer population. You've got first homeowners getting into the market and you've still got active investment there. But you want to run us through even some of the numbers that you've seen over the last 12 months in some of the markets that that you were buying and have exited as well.
Yeah. So I mean, like a lot of the markets that we have exited are places like Perth, Rockhampton, Townsville, Mackay, and a lot of these markets we're heavily invested in ourselves. And over the course of this year, all of these markets have produced double-digit growth. And even in the most recent quarters, a lot of them are producing 3 to 5% growth rates per quarter, which is boom conditions. Really, that's not.
Well, three to five, right? You're talking like double digits plus, like 12 to 20% plus capital growth.
Yeah.
I mean, what like, you got the numbers, man. I know you got the numbers. You know the numbers. Like, what sort of numbers do you see across the board? Mackay 23.1.
Yeah, so I don't actually have the numbers.
You said this to me before, so I'm going to recap for you. Mackay was 23.1, Townie was 24.1, and I think Rockhampton was 24.8. Yeah. Like 25% across the board on those three areas over the course of a year. Like a $500,000 asset has grown by 125,000 in that window. Man, that is massive. That is huge.
And the thing is, like, even in the current markets that we're buying, and we always know that the data's lagged.
Yes.
It still is lagged even for these growth rates in markets that we've already exited.
For sure.
Because the recorded data is always has to be, especially in markets that are growing, it always has to be lower than what's actually occurring.
For sure.
Because the unsettled data isn't reflected in the.
How are you tracking, like for yourself personally, and obviously for the business as well? How are you tracking in terms of like your opinion of like a pull out point and an actual sales piece as well?
So I mean, like I did sell a couple in Perth, and I am sort of regretting that decision because I think it is still running. A couple of the deals though that I pulled out of were quite hairy. There was something sort of not wrong with them, but something that I was fretting that if the market did start plateauing, they would suffer proportionately more than a
standard property. Yeah, I get you.
But I'm still keeping tabs on it because I'm speaking to a lot of agents still in these markets that I had relationships with. I speak to them, every month or even sometimes every fortnight. A lot of the property managers, even the building and pest inspectors and the conveyancers, because the conveyancers and the building and pest inspectors, even though they're outside the direct realm of purchasing and selling, if they're still telling me it's still extremely hot and our volume hasn't dropped at all, well, it's another data point, even though it's qualitative, that supports the fact that it supports the data.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have the quantitative data telling us that they're growing in double-digit growth. You have the ancillary people to the direct buying and selling process that are also saying similar things. Well, you formulate a narrative, and that if those narratives line up, then you're pretty confident the market's going to go. And none of these markets, people always have this fear that the market just turns off overnight.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. Like, there's too much capital in these markets for the heat to just be drawn out of them immediately. They plateau, but we're not even getting to the point where growth rates are slowing.
Yeah.
So, it could be another 12-month plus hold in a lot of these markets, even for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to sort of unpack there as well, man. Because like other than a large event or something large happening that causes an immediate pullout, man, if that doesn't happen, if some large, let's say, catastrophic event, or let's say again, could be a huge employer in an area, or something massive that was going to come in then gets binned, they're the sort of things that can turn the tap off overnight.
Yeah.
If the fundamentals of a market are still exceptionally strong, and the owner-occupied demand in a location is also fundamentally there and strong and backing and supporting it, we know that it's not just going to get slowed down and turned off all of a sudden as well.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest examples for me, which gave me a lot of confidence, is that iron ore price did tank, and Mackay as an economy, a large part of it's built around iron ore and mining, and that price collapsed. Well, it hasn't collapsed, but it's gone down at the same time that the market is still pumping. So like, it's very clear that if you rewind the clock 3 to 5 years ago, people had this fear, even around Perth when we entered Perth.
Yeah.
It's a mining economy, and these markets that are dependent on one or two industries are very risky, because if those industries leave or decline, the market will tank. But you see that these markets, I think primarily because they have a strong foundation of affordability, it's not the case anymore, because the perfect example is Mackay. Iron ore pricing has decreased, but the market, I mean, I need to double check the actual numbers, but it's probably one of the highest performing markets this year in Australia. Yeah,
100%. Man, at that sort of growth rate, mate, there's not too much. I mean, it looks like regional Queensland's outperformed almost the entire market, the whole country. It'll be interesting to watch when the data comes out in January in terms of an actual full 12 months year to year, where we'll actually come out on top. But yeah, man, regional Queensland looks absolutely pumping, which is funny because, again, you say like it is quite resource driven, a lot of regional Queensland. But man, there's so much still driving those economies as well, and those local LGAs. And one of the hugest pieces of this, man, is the obviously the affordability, income to house price ratio, relevant of incomes in the area compared to what house prices are. They're still so cheap compared to almost all capital cities in Australia. And then, man, you combine it with this massive imbalance of supply coming to market and it being too expensive now. Like it's more expensive to build regionally. And now on top of that as well, of like prices going through the roof from a build price perspective, we have this massive shortage of stock and availability as well, combined with prices moving, the FOMO, everything moving in with it. Man, it kind of becomes a self-perpetuating point where it gets driven to affordability caps once it goes, because stock holds on, man. And when markets are moving really quickly, that's uncertainty, because it's like uncertainty as to when it's going to start, when it's going to stop, all the rest of the sort of thing. So a lot of the time when there's uncertainty, people just hang on. And so this kind of formulates into this self-perpetuating where it keeps going until the ceiling is literally people's spending limits. And so that's what we also overlay on top of obviously all the data we get from you and the feedback we get from you on the ground. We're looking at supply pipelines, what's coming in, affordability ratios, metrics. So there's all these different data points that are coming in, including obviously yours, which is on the ground coal face, combined with all the back end as well. Yeah. And that's where people want to know how we select markets when we exit. So much of it comes down to that.
And yeah, I agree 100%. And for me, like I guess the biggest eye opener has been, even though we know that the buy and hold strategy, is flawed in comparison to the model where we, I guess, flip properties.
A long-term buy and hold. Yeah,
long-term buy and hold. But that's my point, that because the markets that we've entered at the bottom end of the pricing hierarchies in those markets. When you combine that with a lot of capital being sustained in those markets up to those price caps, you sort of get the best of both worlds. Because when I started investing, I thought I would have to trade out of these markets every couple of years. When you elongate that timeline to say 3 or 4 years, and you eliminate a batch of exit costs, your taxation, your selling costs, maintenance, etc.
Yep.
And you pull out that equity, and you can hold those properties without having to endure those selling costs through that intermediate 2 years. You end up with a much larger capital growth and much lower selling costs and more equity to do it again. And I think that just because of how affordable these markets are, that holding cycle has, gone from say 2 years to 3 or 4 years.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It's an interesting one to watch, man. And I agree with you. It's always market dependent on how much does it have to run, and then weighing all that up within the equation too, man.
So people listening to this, Sammy. So there's people listening to this going, okay, well, this market's still hot. How do I know when to continue to keep buying in there or stop buying in there? Like the general market listening to this thinking, well, shit, is there still opportunity?
I think, man, it really comes down to understanding what the drivers are of the market and how much further it does have to run. So if we throw different things into the equation, like Perth, let's go back to Perth for an example there. Man, we talk about the iron ore price coming off and the market should have flopping. So what does the WA government do? It starts announcing all these projects and bringing all this money back into the economy, into Perth. So they're not losing their FIFO workers who are living in Perth, FIFOing out of Perth up into, say, the Pilbara or whatever, losing them over to, say, Brisbane, where it would do FIFO into, say, Rocky, Emerald, all those sorts of areas, right? Into coal as opposed to the iron. And then, man, we see this transition of that city. We did the podcast a month ago around, is Perth prime for a boom again? And man, it moves into all this stuff combined with the increase in the price caps of the 5% first home deposit scheme. There's that in combination now with $30 billion worth of projects that weren't previously there because the economy has been so hammered by so much growth that it had and so much stamp duty costs, increased land tax, all this sort of stuff. All of a sudden, the state government's got this massive kitty in the coffers, this big war chest. They go, fuck, well, all these projects have wound up there. What do? We spend it locally instead. And they start, which is what state government should do, man, really, especially if they're trying to keep it and drive growth in the local economy, man. And that's what we've seen really happen from it. And we'll see it again happen up in these, especially in these areas up in regional Queensland and whatnot as well. Man, you see so much capital come in from a big running growth, especially when everyone's at play, because from both the federal and a state government perspective, that's a huge amount. You've got capital gains when it comes to federal, and you've got land tax and stamp duty when it comes to state. So when it gets pumped from a big cycle and a big boom, even though stock goes through the floor, actual sales volume massively increases because of the demand that comes from a huge coffers are filled. Smart governments, man, when that market's coming to a run of an end of a cycle, what do? They pump the money back into the economy to keep pushing to another level. So it's good to see, man. Like, it's crazy to see, and like actually witnessing this happen in Perth. And that was the thing, because Paul, you and I just had discussions around the certain properties. I said I would sell, wouldn't sell, whatever. And I went through a sell down as well myself, obviously for buying my home. And there was properties there that I was like, oh, do I, don't I? And then I made the decision to sell them. A third of my properties in Perth were longer term bread and butters. A third were short term bread and butters, and a third were granny builds. Yeah. So I sold half of the bread and butters that were there for short term sales, and I've held the rest. But it was a funny thing because I was sort of contemplating selling all of the bread and butters, and I'm glad I didn't because the market started again too. So it's an interesting thing, but it always comes down to timing as well, right? And because like, for myself, for what I was getting into, I needed to liquidate to clear debt and free up that capital. I didn't want to draw it all down as equity. I wanted to clear it, bank, man, take the chips off the table, bank that, and put that money into an asset like that. And man, there was clients, I know Luke and I have had conversations around strategy of different clients, and they didn't need to sell out of Perth. So we told them to hold. And there's clients that did need to sell out of Perth to keep moving forward, and they sold. But even though they might have left, let's say 12 months worth of growth on the table, what did they make somewhere else in the market that they put in? The velocity of money, if they sell that down, clear that debt, bank that profit, move that into 3 deals in another location. Man, I think it's all a culmination and really looking at things like this, and is a market the right time to sell out specific to your individual situation and specific to the individual property? Yeah. When you were talking earlier about a couple of properties that you obviously had that had certain characteristics around them that wouldn't make them viable for a long-term hold. Yeah. It's the same as Morgs. When we exited out of Morgan's first deal, the one that we bought in Raceview, it tripled in value, right? In like a 3-4 year window. But it was a property I always said to her, we're never holding this long-term. You're never holding this long-term, because when the timing's right and the market's hot, like, we don't want to leave those chips on the table because it's an asset. You don't want to hold that thing in the portfolio long term. Yes, the market's moved further than that since then, but it plateaued for a year after. And the year that it plateaued after, again, positioned herself in other markets, made a lot of money, and exited an asset that she didn't want to hold long term as well. Yeah. That didn't want to be held. So I think it's always like very relevant to the individual. But I think going back to your question and your point before, Jimmy, about how do people really know, you have to understand the dynamic behind the market, how much push is there behind it. Because Perth's going to be an interesting one. Is it going to run for another 12 months? Could it be 24 months? We'll assess that we'll assess that the whole way through next year to make that call, but it'll probably come down to how much it actually grows. Because it could, like, we look at markets like 23, 24% worth of growth in 12 months. If it produces another 12-month run like that, it could be coming to the end. Or does it do it at 10 to 15 and have a more staggered, longer term sort of run ahead of it? And it's assessing it, man, understanding who's the end buyer of that market as well. Is that end buyer of the market the local population that is priced by an income to house price ratio cap? Or is it investment money that actually has higher borrowing because they're living somewhere else, and that's investment debt? And understanding who that end buyer is, that is where you can really dictate the exit point of the market, or how far you should hold through it. So all those markets that Paulie mentioned there before, especially these regional Queensland ones, the income to house price ratios are fucking insane, man. They're off their head. Most of the markets have experienced significant growth, but they're still probably 50% lower than most capital cities in Australia.
Yeah.
So the actual propensity for growth based on the local population and the owner-occupied demand that we're seeing there, which is the main driver in the market right now, dictates it probably still has another 2 years potentially that capital growth rate.
So how hard is it for you then, Sammy, from a business perspective in the research team, when you're noting all of those kind of
Yes.
figures, to pull out and stop buying there?
Yes.
When you're thinking this is still going to keep running, the affordability index
For
is
sure.
still really good. How difficult is that decision?
It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard. But it's like, it's our name, it's my name on deals. It's not even our name, it's my name on deals. Right. So like I have to be comfortable at a point that I'm willing to buy into a certain cycle of a market based on how much I think it has left in the tank. And so early adopters and especially APS mentors and clients with the APS membership and everything as well, man, they get, especially when they're we're all part of the exclusive team, man, they get early access to these style of markets before they become more mainstream. But man, I think it's a thing of like, regardless of where they're in early on that, but they may be in early and then 6 to 12 months later, they may still buy in the same market because a cycle could still be super early. We look at areas like Perth, man, hadn't grown in 16 years or something when we first entered. Would it mean that I wouldn't buy a property there 12 months later just because it had, the first year barely did anything, but in the second year of 20% capital growth, fuck no, I still buy it. It did 150% from top to bottom, from bottom to top. So it's like, it's understanding how far you should buy in. But again, it's incredibly hard because we actually give a fuck.
And also the opportunity cost of the new market you want to redeploy capital into, right?
For sure. But your question was more around when do we know when to stop buying? And so that's a different question to like other markets as well. But again, it really depends on the individual. Do they need to run it? We talk about this all the time in strategy. Does a client need a running market that's going to produce 25% capital growth in 12 months? That they're going to pull a deposit out, in a 6 to 12 month window, pull that out and put that into another deal? Or are they a more established investor that might hedge between 2 to 4 deals, might go 2 in a runner and 2 in an up and comer that may be a little bit more delayed, but then have a full cycle in front of it as well. So there's so many things to overlay and it always comes down to the individual. And that's why again, we talk about the mentoring, we talk about the strategy sessions that we do. They're tailored to the specific and what the specific individual investor and client needs in their portfolio to be able to move it forward at the pace and to achieve the goals that they're chasing.
Just goes to show how important your strategy is. I mean, everything we're talking about here is
everything
so
here
important.
is so important though. Everything is so important. Take everything into account. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'll go buy you a deal that's going to grow. It's all fits into the strategy, the game plan. Anyone can fucking shoot from the hip and fluke it. But it's like everything has to fit into the strategy to achieve the long-term goal. Anything you want to throw in on that, Lukey?
Probably the biggest thing there is on the strategy piece. Like so many people, like you can buy a property in Australia and do well over a 30-year period pretty much anywhere. But there's not too much skill that comes into that. But getting results in a short period of time, and doesn't necessarily has to be in 6 months, but like getting a expedited result in not a 30-year time frame takes a lot of skill. There's so many variables there, and you've got to get every single piece right along the way. One thing I would just wanted to touch on with the Perth market is, like, I think we're seeing a result off the back of the last 5 years where all these builders and sort of labourers and suppliers have gone under, and they just haven't been able to fill that gap yet. So our undersupply of our market, not even just in Perth but across the board, when we do finally get stock to market, it sells for such a premium that the existing stock on market is then compared to that, which also pushes it even further.
Well, I was going to mention this point earlier, but that's the biggest reason. I was actually going to pull the second and third sale off the market. I decided to go ahead with it just because of the opportunity cost of capital point. And
one of them was a monster sales price as well.
But just to Luke's point, that's exactly what happened. So I sold the first one, like obviously got 2 or 3 sales appraisals on each property, got a 40K premium on that. Second property was appraised at 590, 620, got offers at 696 and 705.
Wow.
Third property was appraised at anywhere from 680 to 750 because it had a mitigating circumstance that some agents were unsure how to price in. That sold for 820. 2 of the 3 sales sold to locals and one of them sold to a buyer's agent. They're still buying. A lot of buyer's agents are still buying in Perth and standalone investors. But they all got these massive premiums.
Yeah.
And that's why when I sold the first one, when I started getting offers on the second one, I was like, well, maybe I should hold off here. And you can actually just reassess sometimes if that happens and just not sell.
We literally just pulled a property off the market this week.
Yeah.
Same thing to them actually.
Yeah, because the offers were just so much higher than not only what the agents thought that I would get, but on my own analysis, what I thought I was worth too.
Yeah.
I remember you saying
that's why you can't dictate a market as well. You can't dictate buy demand until it actually goes to market. You see what it can produce.
I was just going to say, I remember when you were selling the properties, and you did say, I just wanted to take some risk off the table.
Yeah.
So at time, I mean, with your risk profile, if you want to take some risk off the table, bank the win, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's
right?
exactly
Yeah.
what we were mentioning
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
especially with specific assets that have mitigating circumstances on them that you don't want to carry for the long
Like
term.
morgs.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Same as Paulies. I know two of Paulies in particular, very, very similar sorts of things. And yeah, man, sometimes you need to take the chips off the table, just wipe the deck clean, bank the profit, bro, move on. Take the chips
Yeah.
off the table and move on. You know what I mean? Like, and if you've got enough exposure in a market, I think that's the thing. Like, the levels of the game as well get bigger and better the more you do this thing, because the more exposure you have to markets, and then you might have something that you pick up as a bit of a stonker, but it might have a mitigating circumstance on it. If you can sell that in the peak of a market, the peak of the market doesn't care about the mitigating circumstance because there's not that much stock to work with. So they're all fighting for that. But
heat.
if a market comes off the boil, then you're battling like it's a losing battle because you've got a property's got mitigating circumstances on it with an increasing supply and a diminishing amount of demand. So that's why you have to be very, very careful in terms of assets like this. And it's where a lot of the time, these are sort of stuff that we buy ourselves. If there's things that are like a little bit curly on them, you know.
I was going to say mitigating circumstances or the ones with a few hairs on them. The ones a little bit.
They're in
iffy.
combination.
This one was one of these was very hairy.
A couple of-
Morgs, it was the same thing we bought back in the
This
day.
was a chimpanzee. This one. And Sam knows about it.
100%, mate. There's a few, man. Fuck. I think about a couple of years, man. It's
What
that's
was
part of the game. That's
What
part
was the sales listing? Selling the dream. It's this beautiful home. It's got no.
Well,
no
we actually like, and the funny thing is in WA, there actually is no vendor disclosure obligations. There is on the selling agent if they quote unquote have knowledge of the circumstance, but we decided to disclose anyway because I didn't want to get to the point where you have an unconditional contract and they want to pull out. I mean, you can go through the legal battle, but who wants to do that? You're going to crash the sale. So we disclosed it anyway.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't disclose mine. Guys, I think that's good points on
Well
that.
done,
Luke, anything
Paulie.
you want to throw in on supply side with that stuff, or are you pretty sweet on that?
No, pretty sweet. But I think it was always going to happen. It was a matter of if, so when, not if, because we had so many builders and suppliers exit the industry. They haven't been filled, and that gap's not closed yet. And the fact that we're not building enough to keep up with our population growth and the amount of buildings we need for our population,
I think the crazy piece, right, something that a lot of people sort of don't include in the equation is so often so many of the first home buyer grants that are currently available in Australia, the big first homeowner grants and the stamp duty exemptions are all relevant to new builds, almost all of them, right? And so when we bring that into the equation and the demand and the impetus goes into that and build prices going through the roof, it sets a new floor for what a new established product is worth, right? When you then throw into the mix the 5% first home deposit scheme, which now takes out the bottom end of most markets because they're all fighting for that same stock, what we're seeing is literally a leveling up across the board of values in all locations in Australia. And it's been very interesting to sort of witness this change in event, this change in dynamic. And but again, it's understanding how far it can go relevant to incomes in an area. So this is the thing, man. It's like, it's not just a blanket approach and a blanket rule that everywhere is going to grow. But when you understand these metrics, man, that gives you the ability to pick where we should still be buying. And it also gives the ability where we should exit, how much markets have left in the tank, and then where we should be actually exiting in terms of sell down as well. And a lot of this sort of stuff that's come in literally in the last 6 months has prolonged our timeframes on exit points. You look at Paulie and I literally both had properties go to market sell, and in the interim of when you make the decision to sell and then sell, it typically takes time for that to come to fruition. And then literally, man, in that equation as well, literally some of it has dynamics have shifted. Where we've changed ideals as well. Because, I mean, Paulie went through and sold those 3 deals, but he had other deals he had in the pipeline he was going to take to market. Literally said, vacated the deals, decided to rent them back out and hold for another 6-12 month period.
Yeah.
Paulie, what else you got, mate?
Not much.
Well, man, like, I don't know if there's that much value. We might just cut that out of it. I mean, we went for about 30 minutes. No one else has any time for anything. So, guys, we're going to wrap the show up. Nah, that was good, Paulie, man. I
That was
appreciate
very
it,
good.
bro. That was some good stuff there. Morgs, what are you witnessing out there? Obviously, BA manager, a bit of stuff happening. What are you witnessing out there in the marketplace?
I mean, I see it a lot from like across the team. I think like the biggest thing from like internally was the fact that we've grown so much this year from a team and like the deals we're producing, yet the quality has remained as high, if not, I'd say probably even higher this year. Like the amount of like DD that everything goes through and the team that's there to support the deal process. It's remained like super strong. Like an example of something that happened this week was Patty, who works with Paul, brought a deal through our vetting sessions, which we run every day. And I think he got it approved at like 510, which is what he could close it at. And he came back later that day and said, hey, Morgs, close the deal at 505. Like everyone's still fighting so hard for quality. I think it's because they've all been on the other side of that and they want to give the same results to clients that they've achieved themselves. And I think that probably shows even like at the summit and the boot camp, having the whole team there. It's on a weekend. Everyone's just excited to be there with clients, and clients are so excited to be with the team and get to meet everyone. And I think that shows the business that's being created, that you can literally get your whole team in a room with all of your clients in a room and feel like it's only like good vibes and everyone has positive things to say. I think that was pretty crazy to see.
I think it's really cool. And I think an important thing to note there, which you kind of ran through the piece quickly, but like a lot of the team growth this year has actually come for quality control, right? And actual support and ensuring that maintains. So support across the team for both clients and obviously for the business side of things too, but then also the quality control piece, man. Like I look at the Val team that we've built out and the allocations that goes through the different pieces to vet and verify to make sure everything's 100%. But literally Val team, man, like valuation team, everything passes through every deal that gets sent out from APS has been valued 3 times from 3 independent valuers. And man, I just think like that piece and that level of quality control is crazy, because when you uphold that, like obviously business is always going to get to a point that I could no longer look over every deal, right? That's just a reality of life, of the amount of people that want to work with APS. I was never going to be able to continue to look over every single deal. But I think like when we bring this in and then we bring in such a high level of quality control, it's why we can rock up at events with 1,000 people in the room and let's say half of them or more are clients, and we can be very confident and comfortable walking into that room. They're not going to get fucking heckled about something because we did a shit deal by someone.
Well, yeah, this is what I was going to add, because I was having a conversation with Charlie at the Christmas party.
Yeah,
and
one of the valuers.
Yeah, so and that's exactly what he was saying. Like, he doesn't care about anything else other than being able to walk into the room at the summit and looking people in the eye and knowing that he's done the right thing by them. Because at the end of the day, the valuers are the one, the gatekeepers to, one of the big, strong gatekeepers to the deals that come out of the business. Yeah. And that's something that he was, speaking very passionately about. And I think that's what the summit does. It really humanizes, what is otherwise like a very transactional process. It sounds stupid, but you forget that you're buying for people with families, with kids, who have been burnt
relying
before. On it. And that's why I think it was just seeing everyone, and Charlie saying that it's very true, because I felt the same thing.
Yeah.
100% as well. Like one of the things we say very often is, would any of us buy it? Yeah. Like, would we give this to a friend or a family member? If it gets to the point where you're questioning that's probably one of the key indicators where we go, nah, we're not keen on that deal anymore. We were keen, something's changed, let's move it on and go again. Because if you wouldn't do it to somebody that you care about, we wouldn't do it to a client, and that's the main thing.
But it must be so good for you, Morgs, coming from the early days with APS, you were right on the front line as a buyer's agent, and now that quality control side of things, and just being proud of the fact that every deal, how the team manages that process is so important. And when you think about any business with scale, often quality is the compromise. And so that balance of quality and growth is the hardest thing in any business.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're seeing that and developing the team and helping that must be great from your end to see that.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. And like even like off the back of each month, we kind of reflect on how many deals have come through, like each BA's, the opportunities they've achieved. And it's crazy to see still like that rejection number of what actually don't pass like our quality checks or the discount checks. And like I think one BA alone did like 170 vets on a deal, and they would have closed the smallest portion of those, but they're getting access, so like all of our skills are there, but they're choosing to walk away from majority of deals because they're not good for a client. They're not ready. I mean, most of them get bought by another buyer's agent, but
I love that.
Outside of APS,
and that's a credit to you.
Just to reiterate
that is a credit to you, Sammy, even from the early days, and how stringent you were on deals. And everyone thinks that, well, is Sammy looking at every deal? No. Well, he's trained every single person in the team exactly how he does it, and you don't compromise on those standards.
We're very rare. We uphold that to a very high level, because it's just like, if you let it slip, like now that we obviously play, we buy more deals than we've ever done, obviously. And man, like if you let it slip to a small percentage of that happening, then it's just like the small percentage can still be a decent amount of deals. And it's just like, I just don't want that exposure, almost like that karma. And then it literally stems from when I got burnt back in the day by the BA back in the day. I've always said, man, it's like the greatest lesson I've ever learned was that $10,000 that I spent, because it just put my moral compass dead straight of what not to do for a client and to a client. And man, I think like when you run by that and you build a business around that actual methodology, and man, when people like, vibe with that and understand that that's what you're doing. And that's, man, like over 90% of our business are ex current clients, like the APS clients first and foremost, right? And so, man, they come in understanding that like that's the go, like that's what we're playing for. That's how we're doing this thing. And man, I think like when that is the premise and the way that the whole business operates and thinks, it means that like no one's trying to fleece anyone, because we always find out, like if I find out someone's done a shit deal, they're gonna get hammered, you know, and yeah, man, like it's just like no one plays that game because they know how important it is, because they can also put themselves, because they've been in that client's shoes, then they can put themselves in that client's shoes. They're not going to do it. So it's, yeah, I love it, man. I love being able to, we uphold such a high standard from it. And yeah, man, it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see.
We see the mistakes on the front end as well. Like Jimmy, you probably see like everybody has to do their investor application form on the way in. And we see what people are buying in what locations for how much they're paying. They're paying well above market value in locations we might have been buying in 3-4 years ago. So we see those mistakes, and we've been in okay markets up until around now. Like still good markets, obviously, but we're starting to see those mistakes a lot more now. So gotta be pretty careful with that.
I 100% agree with you. And if you think about it, Sammy, it's such a short-sighted approach. I just don't understand why people would ever do it.
Man, to be honest with you, I just don't think they understand the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they haven't been investors their whole lives, if they haven't been burnt by someone before, if they haven't gone through that pain, you know, that we have or have felt, or that, you know, that they reciprocate with as well. Man, so many BAs in there just to run a business. You know what I mean? It's just a business to them. It's not a business to us at all, because like I've said this so openly so many times before. I haven't needed to work for years, right? But I still do it because I'm bloody passionate about it. And what we're doing is changing people's lives. Yeah. So like when that's the driver, man, we're not going to try and just get a deal done for someone to get paid. You know, I mean, I've never paid for advertising for Australian Property Scout. Yeah. Never had an issue with clients because we do great deals. They refer people. They keep coming back for deals. I remember Paulie, we had the podcast out with him just recently as well. Same thing, man. I remember the reel popped out from the side of it. It's like he gets that first-hand experience of seeing these clients come back doing their second, third, 10th, 20th deal with us because they've had the great result. They got looked after the whole way through. And then, yeah, man, they got the result. They come back, they go again.
It'd be pretty hard for you, Lukey, as a strategist, that someone's done a deal, their first deal, to have that conversation post-deal when you're saying, all right, what are we doing next? And 3-6 months down the track, it's done absolutely nothing, or it's been an absolute lemon. That would be a pretty difficult conversation.
I just say to people as well, like if everyone's getting a piece of the pie and everyone's making money and doing really, really well, there's technically no reason not to continue that. So that's why it's such a big focus. And, you know, we put so much time into it. It's a big credit to Sam too, because he has invested so heavily in the quality control piece. A lot of businesses don't. They get to a level and it just falls by the wayside. But the amount he would spend on quality control across the business is huge, which, you know, gives investors, but also staff, the confidence that the business is going to be around and is going to be able to maintain that long term. But what I want to touch on was that the other BAs, and, you know, when sometimes you sit down with someone for a strategy call and you just ask them, you know, what's this? You're like, what's this one? And you're kind of like, well, why is it in the portfolio? I never want to say it's shit or like, you know, it shouldn't be there. I want to understand why it's there or what the intention was beforehand. And they usually say, well, I'm not sure. Like, it was just bought for me. I don't know why I bought it. I don't know what's happening with the market. I don't know if I need to exit. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, it is literally that bad. And we then have to then go and devise a plan and have a look at its purpose and should it stay or should it go and all this sort of stuff. But 90% of the time when you see those properties in the portfolio, they actually have no idea why they're in there. Like, our clients know what the deal is, why it's in the portfolio, what's the intentions with the deal, and how does it fit into their larger strategy to hit the goal longer term. They have to know that before we even buy it.
And people think we're flipping on that, but Brendo, on the calls, how many times are we speaking to people and saying, well, what was the strategy? What was their strategy in buying this property? It's further to what Lukey said, and most of them will say, no, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Strategy. I had a call this morning. Same thing. Didn't have a strategy. Don't know what it was in there, and it was in one of those locations that Paulie mentioned, and they've bought in the last sort of 6 months, and they're just lost. They're like, I need help. Show me what to do. And that's the beauty of, like Luke said,
brilliant.
with Sammy, he's puts a plan in place.
Yeah, the thing that I'll mention as well, like the amount of deals that we could do as a business, is magnitudes more than the actual deals that we do in any given time frame. If quality control wasn't an issue, we could probably 3 to 5x the amount of deals that we do. And 100%. Like, I'll bring Luke into this because we always butt heads on deals, but like it's because I believe in a deal, but Luke's maintaining the quality control piece and asking clarifying questions about a deal. And like, you know, you have to respect it after the fact because he's doing his job, and that's why the business is still in this position.
That's a really good point, right?
Like
I
we
think
honestly always butt heads,
Yeah.
but like
But Paulie also
It's a
understands
necessary-
the premise of it. Yeah,
No,
of,
but
of
for-
making sure
For people
100%.
listening, I think people listening to that point there, that's a really key point. The tension internally. It's not as if you found a deal. Yeah, let's get it.
There's
send it
reasons why
out.
they're sitting on other sides of the table.
That's but
because Luke would destroy me.
He'd sit on you. He'd sit on you. But the tension between internally and for Lukey to say no, we're not doing
Yeah.
that, and you with being an expert in that space. I mean, that's healthy debate.
Yeah, I
That's what's
agree.
going to get the best result. Right?
I do agree.
So I love that. That's great.
That's sort of what we was talking about before. Like, would we buy it? Would we give it to
Yeah.
someone that we care about and love? You know, and then having those conversations. So, you know, Paulie and I do butt heads pretty much most days of the week.
And then we upgraded
but-
to Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does Dad say?
It's like,
Stop it, you
when,
two.
when we disagree, we have to take it to Dad.
And Dad must love that. Dad must love that.
yeah, Dad loves when the kids squabble.
Yeah. Well, now we go Morgan first, and then if we're still unresolved, Big Daddy.
What are the first 10 words that comes out of Dad's mouth when you're asking his opinion?
We'll leave them off air. But yeah, but I
Sit
think
down, shut up, bring me some baklava. Let's go.
But it's such an important point. Like, we butt heads, but it comes from like me wanting to protect the APS brand and what Sammy's built. Paulie wanting to do a good job with the client and get the best deals possible and do everything on his side. So we all come from different angles, and at the end of the day, it all just comes down to getting the best result for a client. So,
Beautiful.
you know, I'll butt heads with people, and it's professional. We walk through the door, it's professional. When we walk out, like when Paulie and I see each other in person, it's like you should get along like a house on
Yeah.
fire. So
Mm.
it has to be
yeah.
professional.
That friction's necessary for quality, though. Like, if you don't have that debate and that friction, you're not going to get the best deals that you will across the board.
Yeah.
You're going to, because if you don't have that, you're going to say yes to deals that you should be saying no to,
Yeah.
or you're going to say no to
to
deals that
deals,
you should
yeah,
be
yeah,
saying
of
yes to.
Mm.
And without that friction and debate, you're not going to arrive at, I guess, the best deals at the end of
The
that
best
process.
result, man.
Yeah.
The best result for the client.
So-
That's what it all comes down to,
yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
Paulie's so right there, man. Like, people have no idea the volume we could do if we had no moral compass.
The tick and
But,
flick.
but exactly. But the thing is the fact, like, we have the ability to do that amount of deals because we do have the moral compass, and that's what's being built off the back of retaining that level of standard. You know what I mean? So, like, we could build to this point and then just fucking do 10,000 deals in a year or something, and then burn ourselves within 2 years, completely burn the brand, right? But like, we were taking this long to get to this point where we now have the brand as quality as it is because we don't operate by those standards. And so the reason that we'll never change that is just quite simply because it's built to what we are now and recognizes the best BA in Australia, the best buyers agency in Australia. And man, I think like when everything culminates together, that's why so many clients win. You know what I mean? And it's like you see this the mutual respect that comes in from the side of it. Because Paulie's been a client before as well. He understands the process around the deals. He can put himself in that situation. It's probably anyone in the team that's eaten shit for as long as I have out there. We were talking about this late last night, Paulie and I. It's himself, you know, so he can understand it, even though he works like a dog to produce the result. Sometimes things need to be questioned if it's not clear. And yeah, man, he respects that side of it because he can put himself in those shoes of if he was coming up the ranks and he didn't have the opportunity he has now, but if he was doing a deal, he'd want to make sure it was every box was being ticked, and it wasn't just like here's a deal, whatever. It's actually ticking the boxes, man, versus just pressing a deal.
So an action point for people listening to this, if you aren't using APS for whatever reason, you need to be asking people, how are you vetting the deals? How does the deal get from where you found it to me, and get the person to explain to you in detail what they're actually doing to justify the fee that they're actually charging you.
The issue is, man, is that most people don't. They have no process around it. And most BAs, whether they're small one-man bands or whether they've got a small team, whatever, they don't have like the experience. Yes, the experience is the biggest thing. You need to have the experience of actual valuing deals in real time in the specific market. And if you don't have that, man, you could so easily be paying 50 to 100K above market for something that Paulie might be transacting 90%, 95% of what he's doing is off market, and then just going buying whatever's on market at the time, not actually realizing what actually is transacting. And so, man, like, I feel like when these things are in the equation, man, if people don't, like, so often, whether they have good intentions or not, they may just have no idea what they're actually doing. And that is actually the most dangerous thing. Someone who thinks they're doing a good job, but has no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Well, yeah, that's what I just wrote down here. Like, that informational asymmetry. If you can be trying, you can think that you're doing, let's say, another buyer's agent, right? That they genuinely think they're doing the right process by the client. But if you don't have access to a large amount of information, you can't make as good as a decision as someone with more information.
Mm.
Even if you have the same process, your barrier is more information.
Yeah.
And because of the relationships that we have, we get access to a lot of information on the ground that others will not have access to.
Mm.
And with that larger amount of information, it can inform, well, it does inform a better decision-making process and a better quality deal.
Yeah.
Last time Paulie was on, he had a really big word, informational asymmetry.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that's very good.
He's raising the intellect.
Did you Google what that means?
No, I've written it down for
Okay,
later.
you gotta check it
try
later.
I
You gotta check it
got to ask ChatGPT what the hell that was. Morgs, is there anything else from your end?
Probably just like the clients being more comfortable this year around yields. And I don't know if it's because that commercial side's also come into things. So in the past, I feel like as yields started to drop or holding costs started to go up with interest rates compared to like 2020 when bread and butters were $8,000 a year positive, I think the granny flat idea wasn't everyone's kind of cup of tea with like holding something and building something on it. Whereas I think now a lot of the markets sit at 4% yields, 5% yields, even under that. I think having that silver lining of the commercial being kind of that piece that they can bring in is probably given a lot more confidence. Even at the summit, again, talking to a lot of clients, they're really keen to kind of get to that point in their portfolio.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a natural transition that we go through, especially when you're moving into markets that are typically lower yields. And yeah, they always have been sort of operating by that level as well. It was never going to be always, especially bread and butters having great yields for a long period of time. It all comes down to where's going to perform the best from a growth perspective. Like a capital growth, bread and butter property is in the portfolio to produce growth, not to produce cash flow. People just need to have the clear vision on that. That's what I love about the APS clients. They have that clear vision to understand, yes, this property might be costing me X a year, but it's in the portfolio for Y. It's in the portfolio for growth. And that cost versus return analysis, we're also not going and buying something that's like a long-term proven performer that like doesn't actually have the drivers behind it to give us a great return over the next couple of years. We're buying in an area, exactly as Paul is saying here, we're short to medium-term holders. We're not long-term holders, right? So if you held a property for 10 years costing you 20, 30, 50 grand a year, by the time it starts growing, it has to produce 2, 3, 500,000 worth of growth just to break even, let alone to actually produce a result. But when you're timing markets and you're really having a clear understanding around the exit of a 2 to 5 year hold and knowing what it's costing you versus what it's making you every year as well, it makes it a lot easier to make that decision. And again, it comes down to the education piece we were talking about before and why education is so important and why it's not just like, oh, here, buy this deal. It's the whole piece, the whole crux of this whole, strategy piece that really elevates our clients and allows them to win is understanding this piece, both from an education side and again the cost versus return. Looking at the risk versus return. What the fuck am I saying? The return versus reward. Whatever the fuck I'm saying. The fuck am I saying there? Cost versus return.
Return on investment.
The cost versus return analysis in that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Morgs. Well done. Sammy.
No, we'll bump around to these boys. Let these boys rip through first. I don't like to steal people's points. I just stole one of Morgs's, but I don't like to steal people's points. I like to throw in as they go through. So Brendo, head of education. Speaking of education, we're speaking of educated clients. Brendo, School of Property. Mate, the APS membership came in this year, which is obviously the partnership between School of Property and APS as well. First and foremost, mate, how's that been?
Mate, it's been very well received, and especially at the boot camp, walking around listening and talking to everybody and hearing their experiences. Like a lot of people that have done extremely well, like 2 deals, 4 deals, 7 deals in 12 months. And a lot of that's coming off the back of being able to ask educated questions from School of Property of brokers, accountants, and understand their position and their strategy. So it's been, a massive year with School of Property, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think what's been really cool is, I guess, witnessing the transition. And we'll jump to, I'd like to know Lukey's version here as well, because obviously between he and I, out of everyone sitting here at the table, the education piece that we witness from a strategy perspective and clients' growth in their minds as well, right? Both from an education-based perspective and then also stretching the minds in terms of what's actually possible. And I think, man, like with that education piece and included in that is the monthly webinars as well, right? That I'm jumping on those typically for around two hours plus every month as well, man, and answering all the clients' questions around different things that are popping up in the portfolio. And the cool thing is, man, is like whether you're at 1 property or 2 properties, you're like, oh, I don't think the questions, if someone's at 5 or 6 properties, that's not relevant to me, right? Or like if someone's at 10 properties and you're at 5, like, is it relevant to me? But the simple fact is like learning those things now ahead of time is the shortcut to actually getting there, and so all these different sort of questions, or someone at 1 to 2 to 3 or whatever that's figuring out how to go to the next levels, someone starting out or being 1 property in, that's how they learn and they can circumnavigate it. And the cool thing is Yeah, there's something I say quite often is you don't know what you don't know. And I think when you throw it into the equation of like shit you haven't gone through yet or barriers to entry you don't realize are going to actually be there, when you find that out and hear that ahead of time, especially in things like the Q&As and like especially going through school of property, realizing the things that you didn't even know were going to be an issue and being able to forecast against that and being handheld potentially by a strategist or a mentor as well to take you past that and make sure you alleviate and miss that. Man, they're the biggest needle movers that there are. Because what you always find, man, is like, if you don't know how to circumnavigate these things, man, you are going to hit a roadblock. And the worst thing you can do is hit a roadblock because you've either got to sell down or, you know, especially if you get stuck in the wrong market, like all these different things, man, like it's very hard once you get stuck to unstuck yourself. It's not impossible, but the best thing you can do is circumnavigate that to continue moving because the most costly thing you'll ever have in your portfolio is time out of the game. So the more that you can keep moving forward and keep compounding and snowballing your result and limit your time and minimize your downtime exposure, the more that you can do that, the quicker that you will build wealth. We were talking about this last night in the podcast that we did, which is the wrap up to the end of year that Jimmy and I did. And I was talking about the most money I've ever lost in property wasn't ever a deal. It was the 6 years that it took me to go from one property to when I started buying 2 a year at 24, 25. Because I bought one at 19, one at 22. And then I started buying 2 a year, 3 a year from 25, 26 onwards, right? The most money I ever lost was in those 6 years because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Yep. If I was more educated, if I knew how to build it, if I knew how to buy in the right markets, if I knew the strategy to keep moving forward, if I had someone up my ass pushing me, setting milestones for me, understanding when I could release equity, how to build forward, what properties I should be putting in my portfolio. And man, like people look at it now and they're like, but Sammy, mate, you got 100 plus properties, right? Like how can you be, man, I've missed most of the fucking Sydney boom. Yep. So I bought my first property in 2009, the next one in 2012. I didn't buy in Sydney again until 2015, 2016, something like that. I missed most of the Sydney boom. Imagine if you load up with 10 properties before Sydney goes. All those early deals that I did in Sydney have tripled or quadrupled. You know, so like I look at like what I could have done now. If I'd had that actual starting point of what it was, mate, it would be a significantly different position. So what I love is like looking at it now with what clients get the benefit from, especially when we talk about the APS membership, right? Is they're getting access inside my brain. A 19-year-old could literally get access inside my brain into how to scale a portfolio. So if you're listening to this or you're a parent and your kid's got enough to buy their first deal, they could literally circumnavigate the last 16 years that I've been learning about investing by listening to that 100 plus hours worth of content. Literally, you've got the school holidays coming up. In that bloody time frame, or the holiday season coming up, in that time frame, they could learn just about everything that's in my head around how to actually scale a portfolio and not lose all that time. Because all that downtime, people don't realize, oh, let's buy a deal, let's buy 2 deals. We'll reassess in a year, 2 years. We'll reassess 6 months, whatever, to see what they've done and reassess. Fuck no. You want to actually get results out of this thing, you have to set milestones, goals, action plan to achieve what you want to achieve. And when you have the right knowledge base around that or the right mentor strategists that can guide you through that as well, being able to cut that downtime, that time down could literally change your strategy from a 20 to 30 to never actually retiring from property to it could be 5 years, 7 years, 10 years of actually retiring from property by massively dropping that time frame and that window to execute. And that's the biggest thing, man. When we jumped into the mentoring program as well, the biggest reason for the implementation of the mentoring program too, it was to massively drop the wait time of buying deals, handhold you through the process, push you to be getting valuations, equity strips, moving it forward, buying again and again and again, and massively dropping and circumnavigating all the problems, the issues you could potentially face in your portfolio, bringing it massively down and compressing it into these timeframes. Absolutely. Again, we reiterate the time frame of like the 5 years we've got from now until the summit in 2030. The only way that we get clients on stage in that time frame is literally by taking them by the fucking hand and not letting go and putting them on rails in terms of how to hit this. So when we go through this and we actually move this as a process and a product and a project, this is how we win. This is how we succeed. And this is how the clients win, by having their hands held through it, massively dropping all the times involved. And not only the wait times on deals, but the wait time on a val. Oh, I was supposed to do that at 90 days. It's 180. Oh, I was supposed to fucking strip that equity. I got the equity out. I was supposed to get a pre-approval. Fuck, that was 3 months ago. When you can drop all these time frames massively down, game changer. Because instead of doing 1 deal, 2 deals a year, all of a sudden you've done 4 deals, or even you did 3 deals. Imagine every year you do 3 deals a year instead of 2. Well, in a 5-year window, you've got a 15 property portfolio, not 10. Or you've got a 15 property portfolio, not 5. Or even less, because you'll lose momentum. Momentum is everything in this game. The velocity of money is everything in this game. So the more that you focus on that and bringing that time frame down as much as you can, whatever it is, that is how you really go to the next level. And literally, whether it is the School of Property, APS membership, that piece, or whether it's a mentoring program to literally hold you on rails and hold you accountable to it. These are the things. And again, if you go the membership and you're doing this yourself and like, you've got to hold yourself accountable to this stuff, is what we were talking about last night. But you hold yourself accountable to this stuff, or you have someone else hold you accountable to this stuff. That is how you win.
For sure. And that was highlighted so much in this last 12 months, like the boot camp we just went to, and I was doing testimonials with clients who were held accountable and they were doing 5-10 deals in a 12-month period. Like Andy and Kelsey, like 1.6 million. I was talking to them 12 months ago.
Net equity, yeah.
Net equity. I was talking to them 12 months ago. They held a principal place of residence. That was about it. Like, it's pretty crazy results if you apply yourself to this and you have the right team behind.
Bro, they came on and cried to it. Remember the shoot? Kels was crying at dinner.
Wow.
She was crying at dinner,
That's
man.
powerful.
They came up. We were sitting there at the end of the night after the boot camp. We're sitting there having dinner. And funny, Nathan and Caitlin were there as well. And then Kelson and Andy were there too. And they came up, man, crying and just being like, I can't believe like what you've done for us in this time frame. But you know what the thing is, man? Like, yes, we partnered together and we did it, but they fucking did it. I can't sign your loan docs.
Yep.
I can't make you sell your primary residence. I can't make you do all this shit. They fucking did it. I just held their hand.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing, man, is like,
Application.
it's application, it's consistency, it's doing, it's executing. You can be all the fucking talk you want in the world, but will you execute? Because if you don't execute, you can do everything you want, right? But unless you execute, man, and go through and push through for it, you can't get the result.
Agreed. Absolutely, mate.
So, man, I love it, bro. I get so fired up about this thing because we saw the results this year. Yeah, and anyone that was obviously at the boot camp, was at the summit, you see the results of these clients on stage. How many of them went from 1 property to fucking 8 properties in a year?
Mate, we had goosebumps in the car driving home. Both of us. Look at this, goosebumps just going home, talking about all the success that those clients have had. And like you said, we've helped them, but they've applied it.
Yep.
I think there's a real divide especially for first-time clients. I think when clients come on board and they're a member and they start going through School of Property, I think they naturally understand that they could be doing more and they don't know what they don't know, and then they learn it and then they implement it, and then it becomes an execution piece. But Brendo, you and I probably find the same things. Sometimes in the early phase, and people listening to this who are just starting their journey, there's an element of fear, right? And if you think about it, everyone's looking for a guaranteed return. But unfortunately, as we all know, with investing in anything, whether it's your business, shares or property or whatever, there's never a guaranteed return. The guaranteed return from the bank is a very low return. So I say to clients very simply, and if you're listening to this, especially when it comes to risk mitigation, the more educated you are, the more you're mitigating risk. And the very first step and the most powerful thing you can do in mitigating risk is you getting better. When you get better, you ask better questions, you get the right team, you start executing, and you get conviction, you get confidence. But how are you going to skip the point of you getting better to go to step 2, 3, 4, and 5? You're just not going to do it. So instead thinking, I'm going to go out and rush, don't go out and rush and spend 500 grand because mum said to go and do this. Invest in yourself, because then no one will rip you off. When you know more, you get confidence. That's when fear diminishes. Doesn't evaporate, but it diminishes to the point where you get comfortable to execute. So for people listening to this, and we talk about education, some people think, oh, you're just trying to sell a course. You just don't understand. You don't understand. You cannot mitigate every element of fear or risk, but you need to get better. That's where education is.
Do you think those clients came in to us originally thinking that they were going to do 7 deals in a 12-month period? No. That risk profile, they probably didn't have that at the start, but they get confidence as they go. They educate, they have a good team behind them, and then all of a sudden their reality changes and boom, look where they're at 12 months later.
That's what I love.
Man, so many clients, man, are like literally when they come in, they're like, oh, I don't need School of Property, it's all good. Like I get it, whatever. It's just like, fuck, man. And then they watch it. Like I remember Kaz, right? I said most people would know Kaz and V, they did their poddy 20 property portfolio. Super switched on guy. Both of them are, right? And man, they were like, oh, do you really think I'll get that much out of it? And I'm like, I don't know, brother. How big is the portfolio? 20. How big is mine? 120. I think there might be a little bit of a gap in the knowledge between, and we're playing around because Kaz is a mate of mine. And he's like, it's a good point. And I'm like, mate, do it. I was like, if you don't learn at least one thing, you apply to your portfolio and make the course fee back, I'll give you your money back. That's what I said to him because Kaz is a mate. And man, he watches it and he's just like, mate, holy fuck, you just don't know what you don't know. And the amount of people that have got, I think as well, man, we think of Andrew, man, absolute legend of a client. Love the bloke, right? Absolute fucking champion. Yeah, 10 properties or whatever before he started joining. Been investing for 10 years. And man, he did it. And I remember he rang me and he goes, mate, I did not realize how much I didn't know about the game. And then he's doubled that in an 18-month window. You look at Pete Wandle, same thing. Pete Wandle, at the end of his poddy, literally said he's been investing for 25 years. He learned more in the last 12 months than he did in the previous 25 years. And he took his portfolio from 4.6 to like 9.5 mil in 12-month window. You know what I mean? So it's like, and to be honest, like, everyone knows I don't need the money. I don't give a fuck, right? But it's like, do you want to circumnavigate 10 years of pain, 15 years of pain of not knowing? And you think about it. My investing cycle hasn't been the average 10-year investor. It's 100 years worth of fucking the average investor's brain space and knowledge base and everything else coming together. That's what you learn from.
I think as well, Sammy, you used to joke, and it's something that's so true. You used to joke it's like a degree in property. And realistically, I've told Sam many times he underprices what he's given out there. I spent over 40, 50 grand on a degree in property, and you learn more in school of property than what you do at university. So one of the biggest things I'll say on that is, I was in the business pre-school of property. And I always used to say to people, like, you do not actually need to know everything straight away. Like the fear of that first deal, like you get started and you build your knowledge base, and we try and problem solve things as we go forward. But the level of questions early has increased dramatically. So what people are asking up front in deal 1 and deal 2 and deal 3 and forecasting their portfolio and looking for problems has just dramatically changed compared to what it used to be, because they are like, knowledge is power. Like that power that they've been given to know problems before they arise is something that you can't actually put a value on. And that's why I've always said you've undercharged it. But you know, it's been such a massive shift in the business. And this year, we've seen such a massive change in the results. Like people do 2, 3, 4. This year they've done 4, 5, 6 or 7. And they're starting to get that real snowball starting to go. And it's off the back of their ability to forecast and then work alongside us. They're not butting heads with us anymore. It's not is this a scam? Like, what's this about? They can actually see it. They understand it. They know it. So they're along for the journey.
Yeah, which feeds it directly into what you said, Sammy, in about how much money you lost, time out of the market.
100%.
This education and what you're saying, Lukey, the first 1 or 2 deals, that time compression of making the right decision and getting into the subsequent deals, they're eliminating that stuff up that you made. So if people are thinking, oh, no, I'll wait and do a couple of deals and then I'll get the education, you're missing the point, right?
You need it first.
You need it first before you do that.
It's the same as people being like, oh, I'll buy my first deal myself. I'll use a BA down the track. It's like, you're going to make every mistake that every novice investor makes because you don't understand it yet. Everyone in Australia thinks they're a fucking expert at property because it's a big thing in Australia. You're not, mate. I can tell you right now. You look at Paulie Dem and the way that we operate in certain markets, 95% and above of what we buy is off market. Think about that. 95%. What are the chances you're going to outperform it? And if anything, even if all you did was break even on the cost of the BA fee, as long as it's eliminated the fucking mistakes that you potentially could have made, that in itself more than pays for itself.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like whether it was market selection or the wrong asset type, or I'm not understanding the street or the pocket or the suburb or anything like that. You know, let alone getting the LGA wrong or the state wrong or anything like that, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of mistake. You know, and then let's multiply, because if you make that mistake and you buy in the wrong location, that's at the end of its cycle, and you can't pull equity out and buy another deal and another deal. If you're stuck in that one to have to save that deposit again, it took you 3 years to save. How fucked are you actually? This is the reason why 92% of investors get stuck at 2 or less properties, because they make the wrong purchase on the first deal. That is not the deal to try and wing it yourself. You know, so this is where I think, man, like the note I wrote down there when I was sort of listening to you guys sort of chat and letting you guys chat, man, is velocity of money, momentum. It's everything in this game. You kill your momentum, it's very hard to start it again, right? But if you maintain the momentum and you go from a deal a year to 2 deals a year to 3 deals a year, if all you did was set 2 to 3 deals a year, and I guarantee if you're doing that, you're going to be able to build bigger than that anyway. And you're going to get bitten by the bug and you want to do it harder. If that is all that you did, man, like if all you did was buy 2 deals a year, anything you ever wanted in your life, you're going to get it in 10 years. As a max, if you do that. If not significantly faster. So I think, man, this is just where one of those things that, I don't know why we've turned to this subject out of everything.
It's really important though.
But it's a funny thing, man. Just like people just need to understand the velocity of money and the momentum and the knowledge base and getting it right. From whether it's the first deal or whether you've had a bit of a stumble and it's the 3rd or 4th, 5th, whatever it is, man, it is everything. You need to get it right.
I like what you said about mitigate, like not making the mistake and not stuffing that up. And you're saying, I don't know why we spoke about this, but one client I spoke to last week.
I don't know how we got to this.
Yeah, I don't want to mention this guy's name, but doing exceptionally well. Wife is a doctor, does exceptionally well. They earn really good money.
Yes.
They've got an investment property that they've got at least a mil and a half of equity in that as an investment property. In their primary residence, they've got probably a good mil of equity, and they're going to be buying a unit off their parents in Brisbane for like 1.3 million. That's highly negative. And I was like, dude, what are you doing this? Well, he feels forced to buy it from his parent, and they think it's good because it's in a good place in Brisbane. I'm like, do you understand the ramifications of this? And just feeds into this education loop. Like, this is a practical reality of
100%.
what is that guy going to miss out? And he's caught between, well, I don't want to disappoint my parents, but at the same time, I know this is not the right thing, but I think it might be the right thing because it's in a really good area. I'm like, dude, this is becoming a member is going to save you years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the practical reality of what we're talking about here. This is really important.
100%. I see it on the daily as well. Like, and you see the disparity of people who take action and they get educated, and then the people who come back 12 months later that made a few mistakes and come back and now they need help. And it's a difference between hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and people need to understand that and make the appropriate decisions.
You just can't, like, we're going to wrap this up after this, but you just cannot put a price on building the momentum, retaining the momentum, and continuing to move forward. There is no price on it. I mean, I'm sure in 10 years when you look back, you'll be able to figure out a price on it. If you fucked up on that first deal, the example before, and get stuck versus where you could go if you circumnavigate all those mistakes in that time frame, you'll be able to put it on. It's in hindsight, but you're 100% going to be able to put a price on that thing in time. And I guarantee you, man, like, if you do the right things and you keep pushing the right way, mate, it's a massive, massive difference. So
I know what that cost is, Sammy, because I did 17 years of stupid things.
yeah.
So that's a very costly. Don't want to work out the numbers, but it would be very
I think
painful.
we work out the numbers when you do 10 years of investing with me, because then you'll be able to work out, okay, well, what did we make in that time frame?
100%.
17 years.
It's going to be
that
very
hindsight
painful.
piece, man. It's painful, but it'll be an interesting lesson to pass on to a lot of people, man.
All right,
You know,
Brenda,
so-
do you have anything else before we Lukey?
Nah, mate, a lot of passion around that subject. I love it. So
Good.
let's go, Lukey.
I always get stitched up, hey. You always leave like boring shit to the end.
Well, we didn't want everyone to fall asleep at the start, whereas this is just like a nice drift off into the night, you know? Like, guys, if you're on the freeway, if you're on a long road trip, because we've come into holiday season, I recommend you pull over at the moment, maybe get a coffee, get a meat pie, a bit of tomato sauce. There's some good new Smith's variations. The new Maxi Bond Stranger things is epic. Get some food in the system. You're going to need the sugar rush to get through this next bit.
Take it off cruise
Lukey,
control,
yeah.
otherwise you'll be in trouble.
I hope you've got that when you're like going off the road, because you're going to be fucking dead.
Do you know what the funny thing is? The amount of clients that ask me in strategy calls, they're like, "Is Jimmy okay? Are you okay?" Like, you guys get ripped a lot. I was like, yeah.
Emotional trauma.
Yeah.
On that note, you've wasted all your time. We're going to move on and go to my list.
What do you got, Lukey?
Big year. Like, I think everyone's expectations.
Oh,
of the
sorry,
year-
guys. This is also the time to put it on 3x speed.
Wait, that's 4 in a row. You're on fire. Like, he's angry about the waffle comment
He is.
earlier.
You
I
got him
reckon
early.
he's
You
trying
got
The
to
him
only
go
thing you
back.
bring up when you talk about waffles, the only thing is if it's like got syrup on it. Other than that, mate,
Bit of ice cream.
yeah.
And nerds.
The nerds, yeah. Got the nerds.
chicken?
Wait, some of
Go
those
on.
Cinnabons out the back.
go.
But
Wait,
yeah,
can we bring them in? I need a bit of energy right now.
Wait, that's 5. That's 5. So big year. Like, when a lot of people expected rates to come down a lot more than they actually did this year. So we had 3 cuts to the cash rate this year. So 3.25. So we started at 4.35%. We ended up at 3.6. But what I wanted to touch on is I don't think it's going to stay there all too long. So we just got some new inflation data out. So it's up to 3.8%, the monthly indicator.
Yep.
So inflation's up to 3.8%
Okay.
monthly indicator. So we actually started the year end of September quarter. So when we did the end of year review, end of last year, we only had the September data. So 2.8%. We ended the year on, and then currently just came out at 3.2. So we've actually increased inflation over the last 12 months. So a lot of people weren't expecting that. They were looking at the trend down, and that the cash rate would continue to trend down as well. Well, one thing I want to touch on, so your monthly indicators aren't the best data. The quarterly indicators are a lot better. But June 25, 1.9%, that's where it bottomed out. July 25 jumped to 3. What was that related to, Sammy?
The jump to 3.
Yep.
Fuck, I don't know. I can't even think.
Energy rebates.
Would I have dropped it down?
What?
Yeah, the 1.9 is what dropped it down with the energy rebates.
Yeah, and then it's back
Oh,
up
the
to
drop up.
3.
Yeah, because I was going to say 1.9. At least have energy rebates.
So 1.9 jumped up to 3, July 25, August 25, 3.2, September 25, 3.6, October 25, 3.8. So we've pretty much been trending upwards the last 5 months. So since June 25 this year, we went from 1.9 to 3.8. So double.
What were we? As I say, do you remember the 6 months before that as well? Because I think it was the dip that got brought through as well.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't have that data on that. I was more so just highlighting like within the last 5 months, we've doubled our inflation data.
Yeah,
so 1.9 to 3.8.
Man, I think this is the tricky thing, right? Like, fuck, the Fed, man, is always getting it's intervention always, right?
Yeah.
And so like they literally bring out energy rebates for that reason to dip the inflationary numbers. But then, man, like it dips down and then it comes back up. You know what I mean? Like it's a natural rebound that was going to happen,
100%.
especially when everything else is flowing the economy. So man, I think it's like one of those things. And now, yeah, it's a funny thing of like people going out there with a 5% first home deposit scheme. And I know what you're just about to lead into now is the potential that rates may increase next year based on what inflation does. And the hard thing is like, looking at the monthly data is not the correct thing to do, which you obviously just said then as well. But like when you look at the quarterly, and we are up quarterly, quarter on quarter, and then I think it depends what happens in the Christmas period, the highest spending season of the year.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
We're literally coming into our highest cost period of any given year. Yeah. And over the last many years since we've been talking about this, every single Christmas when it comes out in January, we're always talking about an increase. So it'd be very interesting. Like 2.8% September last quarter, 3.2 this quarter. At the end of Christmas, it'll be interesting what happens in January because they're not going to be able to let it go back up to 4.5, 5 plus without intervening early.
So the next RBA meeting, the following RBA meeting would be after New Year's, would be in February.
End of January is when they usually release the quarterly data.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the actual RBA meeting. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to watch, man, how that plays out because
they usually don't move straight on it. They might give it a month.
It depends. Depends how high it goes.
That's it. See how high it goes, but. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. And that's why with being an end of year recap, we were kind of looking at it. Everyone was expecting it to continue trending downwards. Cash rate keep coming down. Costs of bread and butters continue to improve, etc.
Cash flows.
Cash flows, correct. So, it just hasn't obviously panned out the way a lot of people expected. But there was definitely signs in the economy that everything is increasing in value pretty heavily. So, inflation increasing isn't the biggest shock to a lot of people. Yeah,
I think the tricky piece around this thing is going to be what happens with rates. Because I mean, this is the thing about it. If they need to pull the trigger to put them back up to slow the economy back down a little bit, that is what needs to be done. I mean, we're in that tricky period of continued growth. You know, the government's now brought out the first time deposit schemes. They're putting more people out in the market, more pressure on the markets. You know, people that weren't originally able to get out there and get into the marketplace are now going to eat up. Like we talk about the housing crisis. Well done, government, because now households that were combined households are now going to split and go off and buy more property, which is going to drive rents up because there's going to be less rental properties available, which is going to have more of an effect on inflationary pressure and make cost of living even harder. So well done again for another fucking stupid policy that you guys have brought out once again and intervening with the housing market, which you should never do. You know, and so especially when times are good. When times are good and when the housing market's pumping, you don't bring in more policy to create more demand. You know, the idea and the premise that this thing was going to solve the housing crisis is the silliest thing that I've ever heard. If anything, and we're already seeing it, the exact opposite is going to come into the equation. And I think we're only going to see it more and more, you know, moving through in the next couple of years, especially the next 6 to 12 months. It's just going to have more and more of an effect on this thing as more and more first home buyers take advantage of that and eat up more housing stock. We're not building anywhere near enough homes. And even the homes we're building, so many of them are being driven again by the split households of people going out there because the first home owner grants are so strong in the first home buyer space. And so, man, it's in the new build space, and it's just, this self-propelling and perpetuating housing crisis that us as investors, we're happy, we're laughing, we're killing it. Like, yes, from a cash flow perspective, you can get a little bit tighter. But yeah, man, like the continued growth, the continued pressure we're going to see on the marketplace, even we go back to Paulie's markets before, the regional markets are so much more expensive to build. This is going to create even more pressure. And if rents drive up again, the more and more people are going to try and split off and buy their own homes, and more pressure, more growth. There's no shortage to this thing. And the idea this thing was going to fix the housing crisis, like, you guys have no idea.
It's what we were discussing this the other day, where a lot of the modeling for what would happen to the market was actually done post announcing the scheme. Like when we had that chat, And we were talking about how ludicrous it was. Like the fact that you haven't done all of your modeling and actually looked at the impact of the market.
And they're trying to say, what were they trying to say? 0.5% over 6 years or something?
0.6% over the next 5
years.
years.
Yeah, what a joke.
So the scheme would only impact the market 0.6% over a 5 year
In terms of
period.
growth.
So their modeling was actually done post announcement, and then someone called them out for it. One of the senators. I sent you through the video when we were talking about it. We both just shook our heads. Like it's just one of those things. Like how do you actually justify that? Announce something and then figure out how much it's going to cost and what it's going to do to the market post.
Silly.
So if interest rates do increase, Sammy, for people listening out there, does it change the game at all for what you're doing or what you advise clients to do?
Never. And nothing changes, man. Like nothing changes. I mean, when you combine with the policy changes recently from a few different banks that are limiting certain types of lending, which makes it a little bit harder to push us hard on the bread and butter route. It's easy, man. Like people, it's not easy, but it's just like, it goes back to us, like our wheelhouse, which is knowing how to continue navigating tougher lending conditions, especially with tougher, prices and yields and stuff as well. Man, it all comes back to the strategy piece. You can't just be pulling, shooting from the hip all the time and thinking you're going to get away with it forever. And so, man, I think this is the difference that we're going to be moving into now of the more educated investor, especially being guided by the correct hands, are going to be able to keep moving forward, and the average investor is going to get stuck. And man, for us, man, I see it as an exciting time because again, I love it when things get hard because that's when we get to perform. You know what I mean? When times are good and everyone's it's just like I don't know, I don't get as G'd up with that. But when times get hard, because I know we'll keep performing, and so that excites me. And how much we've ramped commercially and how many quality deals. I literally signed a contract for a commercial deal myself this morning. And man, like putting these things in the portfolio and putting them in the portfolio for clients and seeing the impact they have when they do a sell down out of a couple of deals in Perth or Brizzy or whatever it is, and they're cashing out of these deals and rolling cash profits into these commercial deals, which then inject a massive cash flow hit into the portfolio. Man, it's game changing. It's game changing. And so, man, all it does really is it's just like does it change anything? Yeah, it changes heaps from a strategy perspective, but it doesn't I'm not worried at all. I'm excited by it.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to add, I think whenever something gets more difficult, the potential reward's greater.
For sure.
Those two things have to be correlated
100%.
Because when something's easy, well, more people can do it. But when something's more difficult, less people can do it, but the reward's greater.
For sure.
So I think, I think I agree. Like the strategy piece is going to be even more important than it's ever been, especially if these restrictions continue, which they may or may not.
Yeah.
But either way, I almost hope that they do continue because the reward is going to be better for those who know how to navigate the new landscape.
100%. Yeah, 100%, man. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch kind of that play out as we go through the rest of the year. Luke, anything else you had on your
No, that's
list?
me. That's me. It's been
Done and dusted.
Been a big year, but yeah, a lot of changes in the economy. But the property market is, as long as you know what you're doing and you follow Sammy Gordon, you're pretty sweet.
Yeah, we've done all right this year. It's been a good year. I mean, we do all right every year, but yeah, it's good. Looking back on a year that a lot of people didn't propel their portfolios potentially as much as they could, and then seeing what we have produced for clients, especially from deals picked up, whether it was a year, 2 years ago, or something picked up this year as well. Seeing those wins of those clients pulling their cash out, rolling into more deals, keep pushing forward like that, man, it's invigorating, man. You know what I mean? It's what pushes us to go harder and better, and it gives us goosebumps. Like we were talking about email the other day throw to us in the team, man, and what they hit him and his mum who just she just got cleared from cancer at the same time that they realized that they were worth over $1 million net equity on paper, and it sends it through, man. And it's just stuff like that. We're just sitting there, and it's just stuff that you can't get that from anything else in life. You know what I mean? Well, to me, I know I can't get that from anything else in life, especially at this point. And I think it's one of those things, man, that if that's what we can continue to drive and push and get results for awesome everyday Aussies, man, it's invigorating, it's motivating, and it just makes us. People wonder why I still got so much passion. I fucking love this shit. When that stuff comes through, man, that G's me up, in a big way.
That was the best thing from the event. You just met so many good people that had such awesome stories. And Brenda and I were talking about it over coffee this morning before this, and I was saying to her, I don't actually tell a lot of people. When I left school, I started medical engineering. So I did medical engineering for a while because I really wanted to help people, and I thought if I did that, I could invent something that would change someone's life and help them out. But couldn't handle the blood and gore. Probably not the best industry to be in, so I pivoted.
Now you just go to war with Paulie every day. Still blood and gore on the daily. Exited from the medical space, got on the fucking property front.
Literally. But the best thing about it is like we help people on such a intimate level. Like we know a lot about them. Some of our clients, we know more about them than some of their best
Right,
friends
100%.
and their families and what they're doing. And some of them feel like sad to share it with them because they're doing so well. They don't want to share it and then be cut down. But the results and the fact we got to meet so many good people is why we do it. And I know you said before you haven't had to work, but the fact that you can meet these people and put them on a trajectory that is generational. It's not just them, it's their kids and the amount of people that come up to you and, I'm doing this for my daughter and this has happened and their stories. And it's just another level. And it's what actually gets us to do what we do.
It's super motivating, man. I love it. And I know everyone got goosebumps from so many different people's stories, whether it was, I was up on stage interviewing different mentoring clients, or it was literally the one-on-one stories that people got as well, during their conversations over the weekend, man. But it's just super invigorating. I remember Paulie literally said to me that the biggest kicker he got out of the whole weekend was people coming up to him saying positives around that deal where I was so scared. And man, we get that so often with new markets that we enter that I back, man. And like people are like, Sammy, I don't know about this one, man. Like, what are you doing? And it's just like, mate, and then man, that's the thing. You see them at a summit, 12 months later and they're up $100,000, $200,000, on individual deals. And I think it's, man, these sorts of things, man, like we go back to, I go back to what we were saying about an hour ago. I don't make decisions lightly on anything that I put anywhere because can you imagine you walk into a room like that and you just got a market completely wrong? Like, how do you walk into that room?
Yeah.
I still would do it. But like, because I'm not going to shy away from a fuck up if I fuck something up. But like, that's why there's so much preparation that goes into everything we do, every decision that we do. Same as a mentoring program, man. Everything that went into that, the school property membership, APS membership. Every time we enter a market, every time we select an asset type, when we pivoted into commercial. You know how long it took me to convince myself in my mind to pivot into commercial because I could see residential yields compressing. I knew I had to do it, but the massive effort that it was going to take to build that division and really drive that department, for me to saturate myself with the information around that to really drive and build something significant in there. But the clients needed it, and we needed it next in our portfolio as well, because I'm committed to getting all of our staff to all the team to what they're achieving, what they're chasing as passive income goals as well. So it's a necessary step, that I needed to implement. And so but everything that we do, man, because like if I put my time into something, that's hugely valuable that I'm pulling from somewhere else. So if we're putting into something and making a decision around something, it has to be right. You know what I mean? And so that's where I love this stuff. And the reason I reiterate and make this point around it is because those decisions are what shapes like hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000 people's lives by getting that right or getting it wrong. You get it wrong, it's a lot of people you've lost a lot of money for. But you get that right, that's how we all walk around. Man, we've got our fucking chins up, our chests out. We're proud as hell because of what we've done, what we've been able to help people achieve as well. And man, that's why I just love getting around it, man. You see people, when I got fired up in the crowd on the weekend, man, I had ladies, man. I saw ladies with tears in their eyes because I was so passionately agreeing with what I was talking about, and what what the whole weekend was about, and the whole investing journey is about, man. And that's what's crazy, bro. You bring everyone together for these summits and these boot camps, and like, yes, there's like great learning and motivating and passion, all the rest of it. But then everyone gets around each other and like, fuck, I got 3 properties, you got 10 properties, I'm on my first deal, all this sort of stuff, man. And everyone just loves it. And they go away from there, man, ready to like, Brisbane need to they cleared the streets, bro. It was curfew. It was curfew. It was martial law, bro. Because everyone was ready to fucking destroy the whole town because everyone was like running out of there fully G'd
I
up.
literally walked out of the room and there was a big hole in the wall. Paulie Demi just runs straight through the wall. He's like, doors? Why do I need a door?
Mate, like
Seriously, man.
But on a serious note, like to that point, I mean, I tell clients this all the time, but like, we are all in on these markets ourselves. Like we don't just back them in theory. We have complete conviction with our own money.
Yeah.
Like, we have families too. Like I have a pregnant wife at home. I am putting all of my money into these markets because of how much conviction we have.
100%.
So I think that's an important point. We don't just back, our conviction's real with our own money.
Do you remember there was, I can't remember if it was Lukey or if it was you, Paul. I think it was you. When I recorded the location video for the area I put you into late last year. And I do remember when I finished the location video and producer Kel sitting here, she starts laughing because I finished the video and I got so fucking amped up doing a location video about where we're buying that I got off the phone and I called you and I said, bro, I want 20 properties here by the end of this year. We hadn't started buying there. This was at the start. It was before we even done anything. And I said, mate, I want to get my hands on these things. I'm going to be proof in the pudding because I know people are going to have an issue buying this location. I believe in it that much, man. I want 20 properties by the end of this year. And I fucking got them. And that's because, man, every time we go into an area and I do these things, man, I G myself up and I G up. Well, I know that's going to happen. If I do the location video, I'm not feeling it, man. I'm like, we might park that for 6 months. You know, but when you get off the back of him and you're G'd and you know the result that we're going to get, man, you believe it with so much conviction. You don't, yeah, man, you go all in, you know? And the beautiful part is we obviously get to do that for our clients as well and get those massive results. And yeah, man, and then the proof's in the pudding. They get to the end of the year, you see them at the summit a year later and they're like, fuck, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
So thank you, Paulie,
No,
for those 20 deals.
That's the biggest thing. Like for us, we want to get to the next summit. Well, it's not going to be same date next year.
Why is everyone wishing about that date?
Just me.
Oh, yeah, true.
But yeah, I want to get to that next summit and have so many people come up to you and be like, I killed it. I did this. This is the results. And like, this is what I did. And my family, you know, have come on board. I referred my brother through and he's done a couple of deals. Like that, like as a business and as a staff member, your goal is to be able to walk in that room and have people coming up to you and go, I've just killed it this year. Thanks so much. You're not, oh mate, like that one was iffy. You did nothing. Like you shit the bed on that.
Yeah.
You know, like that. You need to have that motivation.
Man, you know what's going to be nuts, right? Is and I know people are going to get FOMO when they get in the room next year. And there's a certain amount of places we have left in mentoring that I think will get released in January or February or something like that. Because it only got released to people who were in the room. Those people who got the link, I said no. They wanted to sign up to mentoring. I said no. You had to be in the room, right? You had to make the commitment to be there for the weekend to get access to mentoring in first batch. And I intentionally didn't tell anyone that because I wanted the only people to get access to it in that first batch to the ones who were actually fucking committed to the cause, right? But that being said, there's still a lot of amazing clients that we love that were outside of it that weren't there. And there's a super limited batch that's going to come through because obviously it comes with a guaranteed time frame that we're going to source clients deals in, right? And there's going to be another batch. Jimmy and I are going to do a podcast for the end of January, heading into February, something like that for the intake that we're going to do early in 26. But I think, man, what's going to be crazy is that FOMO that I know that the people are going to feel when they get to the summit at the end of next year, for those who weren't a part of it, because of the trajectory that I know that people are going to go on that are in it, man. And it's just like, it's wild, man. And the Paulie, you rang me after and you go, man, that was when I did the webinar the week after, the Thursday after this, the boot camp when I did the mentoring drop, man. And he's like, man, that was the best I've ever seen you because I was so G'd up, man. I just believe we talk about conviction in a market, going all in on it, bro. I am so fucking sure that this is how we get 500 investors on the stage by 2030, man. It is the only way, man. And I'm so fucking sure of it. And that's why I just know, man, there's going to be that many people that have FOMO by the time they get there or they miss out on a batch or whatever it is, mate, because it's just like, it's the rails, man. We talked before about the rails, the hand holding, the as close as possible to guaranteeing the result, man. This is how it's done. And so I just can't wait, man. Can you imagine getting in a room at the end of next year with all those mentoring clients? And it's just going to be off its head, man. The amount of deals, the amount of equity, the amount of growth in portfolios. And, people thinking they could only do a deal or 2 deals a year and then they go to 4 a year, or they feel they're going to do 2 or 3 and they do 6 in a year or something like that. Man, it's going to be crazy. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. Jimmy, I've got a few things to wrap up. I don't know if we fucking bother going into it because we do all that stuff, but I think a couple of little like
Why
recap
not?
points of the market that I think we kind of touched on. We kind of maybe missed a little bit that I think are prudent to bring up that were influential on the market this year. First one being the federal election. So we all know what kind of came off the back of that. The federal election ended up becoming a pissing contest around the housing market and the housing crisis. Now, us as investors benefited from it. I think the housing crisis worsened because of it. We know it worsened because of the amount of increased demand that we saw off the back of it. So, man, it very much was drilled down to housing policy. And that's had a very positive, influential impact on price growth in a lot of markets in Australia, right? So that's a good thing for us, okay? Good thing for everyone listening to this thing, especially if you've got money in the market and it's in the right location. The biggest piece around that obviously being the 5%, first time buyer deposit scheme, whatever the fuck the thing's called. But that obviously having a huge impact and a huge piece to play this year, especially in this last run of growth that we've seen over the last 3 to 4 months of 2025 as well. Man, I did a podcast earlier in the year with Liam around Australia's infrastructure boom. I think a huge piece of why we are massively constrained in terms of supply in Australia for housing and why the housing crisis is bad as it is because concurrently we are running the largest infrastructure run of projects that we've ever seen in Australia. Melbourne, huge, like tunneling all these $10 billion project between the tunnels and another $10 billion in the inland rail link for the airport link and everything as well. I mean, you go to Brisbane and Southeast Queensland with the Olympics coming up, they have tens of billions of dollars worth of projects going out. You go to Perth and now got $30 billion worth of projects going in. Sydney's a massive city. Obviously got a huge amount going in there. Man, all these cities have so much impact and influence. Man, you even go up to little old Darwin, right? $30 billion worth of projects up there, over $30 billion projects on a population of 140,000 people. I'm about to run through the numbers in a second of growth for the year so far. And there's a very, very clear reason as to why Darwin is actually the highest performing housing market in Australia in 2025, and why I believe it is going to be the strongest performing housing market probably for the next 2 to 3 years potentially, because of the massive amount of infrastructure spending combined with the tiny population. And if we look at Darwin as well, if we exclude ACT because it's all government employees, the highest income in Australia outside the ACT with the lowest house price by over $100,000 and the most infrastructure spend per capita in the whole country in a tiny population. There's no surprise why this thing's gone absolutely off its head. And I think, like, man, when all these things start to come into it, and not just talking about Darwin, but man, when we throw all this into the equation, there is no quick and easy fix for the housing crisis in Australia. The government's done their absolute best to fuck it even more. Well done, guys. Everything you said you were going to do that was going to fix it has fucked it even more. So well done. You've done exceptionally well at that. You should get gold star. Gold star from the kindergarten teacher, because that's the level you play at with fucking economics. The idea of, 1.2 million homes over a 5-year window, you're over 100,000 homes short every single year. The number you actually need is more like 1.8 million. And you're never going to hit it. You're never going to come anywhere near it. So the shortage of housing that we're running into now is only getting more and more compressed, and is only going to get worse and worse. Again, a great thing for us as property investors. There is a huge amount of wealth that's going to be created in the next few years. There's been an immense amount of wealth that's been created in the last 5 years. In the next 5 years, so the whole decade of the 2020s, there is going to become a generational wealth gap, like a serious wealth gap that people have talked about for a very long time. You're not in the market and scaling properly in the market, you are going to get left behind because of what's coming right now. And it's a funny thing. We did the super boom. That was like end of 23 or something like that, bro. We're 2 years post super boom, right? And all this shit that I fucking called all the way back then has come to fruition, right?
Everyone thought you were crazy.
Everyone thought I was crazy, man. I am crazy. But I think, like, all this stuff, man, it's come to fruition. You know what I mean? All this stuff that, like, oh, it's going to have this happen. Man, it's all come to fruition. And the simple fact is, the more money that state governments make from house prices and booms and land tax and stamp duty and all the rest of it, the more they'll pump in for infrastructure projects. The silly thing about infrastructure projects is because of the size of their scale, they fall under unions, which unions pay ridiculous money, and they have the workforces, fully contained. Why wouldn't you work? You work on a normal project out in the private sector versus working in the public sector, and the union pays and union conditions. Of course you would. It makes no sense why you wouldn't take that job. And so they're taking all the trades from that and not allowing builds to be completed. Or even if the trades were there, their rates are now so exorbitant because they're going to match the unions and what they're being paid on the public projects, that now the build prices will go crazy. So everyone's shelving their projects, unless they're super, top of the line projects where the margins are higher. But man, other than that, it's just like these products aren't being brought to market. The housing crisis is only going to get worse. And the more money you have in the market, in the correct locations, are going to benefit from these supply crunches, the more money that people are going to make. And I genuinely believe, it's funny, I never really thought it for many, many years. Everyone's talking about these gaps coming. I'm like, it's not coming. Like, we're not there yet. I firmly believe we are there now. That it is impending, man. That it is genuinely impending, because what they've just brought through, specifically with the 5% deposit scheme, they're setting a new floor under the market that I believe, combined with the housing supply crunch that we're in right now, we are going to hit. And then when we hit that, all the people that have never gotten into the market realistically are fucked. And they're fucked for a period of time. And it's going to take a while for that to be unwound, if it's ever unwound.
I don't think it ever will, though.
Bro, but the position we're in right now is like, how do we ever unwind from the position we're in right now? We will never catch up, right? So it's like, if we never catch up, it's just like, where does it go to? And we are such
nothing and you're happy about it.
Yeah.
Man, it's
well, they said that.
Yeah,
That's the World Economic Forum. Like, they actually said that.
You own nothing, you're happy about it. But like, I think it'll get to the point where it's so expensive that you have institutional investment that do, like, a 50-year lease back of your rent, for example. If you want a home, you can have it, but we're going to lease it to you for 30 years, and that's going to be home. And if you want it, there's all sorts of theories out there. But like, when you go and look at it, is it plausible? Yes. Like, I can see a world like that.
Yeah, you have intergenerational loans. The residential property space will be significantly more politicized, I think it will be, that buy and hold, long-term hold strategy will be out the window because the political risk, which is something that's so understated even now, is just going to exponentially grow. Because as this two-class economy emerges, it's already there.
Yeah.
But
the gap's going to widen.
It's going to widen. The residential property class will be politically targeted, and holding a property for a very long time will carry a lot of risk.
Yeah.
It's funny, Paulie. Like, remember we used to have like chats for 2 and we'd talk about all this sort of stuff.
Is this before or after the battle?
This is
Paulie's fair in love and war.
The battle's been the entire time. But we talk for 2 hours and I get off the phone and Tully's like, what were you talking about? I was like, yeah, don't even listen to any of that. Like, we went down the rabbit hole and we're barely coming back out.
Question is it possible to reverse that, Sammy? With the government, there's no, can they backflip on that?
The only way to reverse what is now in effect, because what are they going to do? Backflip now on the 5% deposit scheme? It's all state governments that are typically funding all the massive infrastructure projects that need to now be delivered because they've promised it, and there's a huge amount of workforce that's now potentially moving into areas for these specific reasons. Man, once they're committed, they're committed. Once they started, they can't stop them, right? And so this is the next 5 years minimum. This is what's ahead of us. We're not solving this problem. It's only going to get worse. And that one other thing that's actually not in here that I know Morgs was actually talking about a little bit earlier was the foreign investment ban that came in the start of this year, right? Great for now, or potentially for now, but it's a 2-year ban, right? Which ends up at the end of 2027. So then how much foreign capital in April 2027 then flows back into the market, unless they extend it, but let's say they don't extend it. How much foreign capital does then flow back into the marketplace, especially if we have another exceptional 18 months worth of run and growth and people see Australia as a very safe asset class? How much foreign investment capital then flows back into the country at that point when we're already at frothy, hectic pricing at that point in time? Yeah, man, it's a crazy sort of storm we're still looking at in front of us.
There's so many layers to it too. And you talk about the political impact of this year and how it was very heavily related to the property market. It's also very heavily related to the energy sector and how we were going to bring power prices down and fix the power issue. It was heavily related to two things, and both parties hinged either way. Nothing happened. They made the property industry worse and they made the energy sector worse. So I don't know.
You want to know what's crazy, right? Around this as well is one of the projects in Darwin, correct me if I'm wrong, is $30 billion. There's a solar farm. The second largest solar farm is in the world, Southern Hemisphere.
Southern Hemisphere.
Second largest solar farm in the Southern Hemisphere. $30 billion project in proximity to Darwin with an under-ocean cable to put it into Southeast Asia. So we've got that. We've got the second largest solar farm in the Southern Hemisphere, and we're going to sell all that energy to Southeast Asia. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, man. Crazy stuff. You know what I mean?
It's pretty much like farming our country. You're literally farming a land mass that they don't have and sending it there.
Yeah. It's wild, man. It's wild.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? This stuff, bro. It's just
and then we're paying through the nose for it. And anyway, we can go down the road.
Anything else from your end, Sammy boy?
Mate, I think the only other thing I was going to touch on, actually, the thing I want to kind of round out on too, man, is with before I run into the growth rates to round up for the year too, mate, is man, the commercial implementation into the business. And going back to Paulie's point earlier of talking around, where residential property might sit in the next 5, 10, 15 plus years over that long-term hold period, is it an asset class that, could potentially be, again, politically more affected by something that the government does, and who knows what that is, right? In terms of fairness or equality or some bullshit, right? It's something that I don't want all of my money tied up into. I have no issues holding. I probably have 30 odd cash flow deals in residential, right? I have no issues holding those assets now. But in that long term, would I want my entire cash flow base to be tied up in that? No. And the idea of these long-term holds for blue chips, then own them outright, it's a broken strategy. It's not even broken. It's archaic how old that thing is in terms of an actual strategy perspective. But then because the net cash flows on them are so low, barely above inflation. So it's just you're unable to do anything, barely above holding costs in these things. So even outside of that as a strategy, the idea of selling down and ensuring we're selling down at the correct time when it comes to growth properties and then transitioning this money into commercial deals, man, for a long-term perspective, we run through everything we've been talking about in this podcast so far, makes so much sense. When you then combine it with the fact of lending becoming harder and policy changes coming into effect, net negative cash flows being higher, being able to supplement and buffer the income and the net cash flows of the portfolio with these very strong commercial deals where they're very well thought out. And like, we got a massive valuation team, so a 6-man valuation team. 2 of those are purely dedicated to commercial, literally just valuing, vetting commercial deals day in, day out. We've got a due diligence team, literally vetting deals day in, day out around this as well. Plus, obviously, a huge amount of experience within the space, negotiating, researching, research division, again, within commercial as much as residential as well. Ensuring we're selecting the correct asset types in the correct markets that are going to give us a longevity within our portfolios that we need, whether it's a short-term cash flow injection to be able to keep moving forward in the portfolio, or whether it's that longer-term, maybe an SMSF, more blue chip play within commercial that we know is going to be bulletproof. Do we hedge them and have diversity between two of them? I love it, man. Like, the different assets that I've already bought within my portfolio within commercial, man, I love it because I love the diversity of what you can have. And even for myself, it's like, I might go for some that are a bit racier, bro. They're a bit riskier, you know, like a little bit higher risk, but much higher return in the commercial space as well. I might go for some longer term, just bulletproof blue chip assets. I don't know if I just park there, they're going to be there forever. And then I've got my resi cash flow portfolio as well. So this perfectly rounded sort of portfolio. And this is the thing, man, like when I build APS, I'm also building for what I know I need in my portfolio next as well. And clients get to benefit that because they're all sort of chasing my trajectory too. So it's a beautiful sort of culmination of where everything has sort of come to now land on the commercial division, man. And I just love it. I'm becoming very actively involved in it myself. I have been since the start, but next year I'm going full ham into it too. And yeah, man, it's a very, very strong focus of ours because we know to get that amount of clients on the stage in 2030, there's a certain amount of deals we need to produce in commercial every month to be able to supply the clients that are going to be on the stage in 2030 with those deals to produce the passive income returns. So, man, I'm frothing it. I love it. I think it's a great addition to the business. Everyone's excited by it. And a lot of the teams already picked up some commercial deals as well. And yeah, man, it's exciting times to have that commercial arm up and running and sort of flowing within it too.
All right. Love it, Sammy. That's
Paul,
a nice
anything
little
you want to
wrap-up.
throw in on the commercial sector as well?
Yeah, I mean, I just think over the long term that even if maybe small portfolio holders in resi won't be affected as much, that larger portfolio holders will be, that's who's going to be targeted, I think. And I just think when the government can pull levers to do that a lot easier without affecting the economy as opposed to commercial. Like it's a lot stickier as an asset class because you can change housing policy to, I guess, you know, tax the rich and feed the poor in terms of targeting large portfolio holders. But if I concentrate, you know, $5 to $10 million in a commercial asset, well, the government can't really target that because then they, you know, destroy the foundation on which the whole economy is built. So it's a lot harder to cause effect to commercial property as it is with large residential portfolio holders. And that's why I think long term it's a lot safer. Well, yeah, I guess it's a lot more it's a lot safer when you look at their political risk.
You mean they won't target small business owners, essentially?
Well,
in a way.
Yeah, like
well, it's more the equality piece around the residential sector versus if they try and tax the hell out of everything to do with commercial property. That's businesses in Australia. So who does that actually benefit? It doesn't benefit anyone because that gets passed on to the business, who's a potentially small business owner, which affects them in the economy not being able to do as much as
so
plasma.
who's going to own the property to support the business having tenancy in that space?
No one actually wins in that scenario because if anything, it dips everything, and so even the government wouldn't make as much money from that side of things as well either. Whereas in the residential space, and what Paul is probably referring to here and referencing here, the larger the portfolio, if you had a larger land tax exposure, and if they just started targeting land tax hectically for you know, especially once you get to a certain amount of rateable land value, then it's going to make people you know, potentially diminish and sell down portfolios.
Even CGT exemptions reducing for larger overall value portfolio holdings, and then you know, we're talking hypothetics, but you know, if they say, well, we don't care how many across all your trusts across your personal name, as long as you're, you know, the director of those trusts and in your personal name
they group
as well.
they
group it all together on a national level. It comes from a federal government, not state government, and they you know, reduce your CGT exemptions, or they do that and also increase your CGT. They can do that, but
and the land tax as well. Man.
Commercial, it's way harder to do that.
And the one of the biggest reasons around that, for one, like we ran through the other piece before, but like land tax is 9 times out of 10 passed on to the commercial tenant as well. So literally, the landlord isn't even losing in this scenario. It's the tenant being the business owner. So which they don't want to, you know, they don't want to put unnecessary sort of stress and pressure again on top of them too. So man, I think it's a perfect addition. A lot of our clients have built out some resi cash flow, but now, man, it's a perfect addition moving into this next piece. And yourself as well, like we, you know, especially with some of the resi deals we did back in the day, man, had double, tripled in value now too, which is perfect, and massive uplifts in rent. But we can't produce that in the resi space anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a natural progression that we needed to do as a business, and it's perfect to add these style of deals into the portfolio as well.
I love it. Sammy?
Man, the final thing I wanted to round out with was actually a little bit of a recap for actual market growth across the year, right? So we'll do this again when we head into next year. And we actually have the annual figures of January 1st to December 31st. But what we have is we have the 12 months up until October 31st, right? So we're recording, I think we're the last day or two of November now. But we're, that data of effectively heading into the fourth quarter of the year. Up to October 31st, right? And man, the growth rates we saw across the board. Sydney, and this is medians. This is house and units sort of combined, right? The median Sydney at 2.3% growth over the quarter, 4% annually. Still in growth, not much, but still in growth. Didn't retract. Melbourne 1.6 in the quarter, 3.3 annually. Brisbane 4.9 for the quarter, 10.8 for the year. It's a double-digit plus growth. I sold a few deals in Brizzy this year. Brizzy is hot, man. Like I did a lot more than 10% growth this year, I tell you, especially in the affordable pockets, right? Perth, 5.4% for the quarter, 9.4% for the year. So pretty much double digits over the year. But if you look at that quarterly growth rate, where we've seen the kick come back into the market at the 5.4, annualized, we're talking almost 22% growth.
Wow.
Massive, right? Massive. And it'll be interesting to watch how that plays out again when we get the annualized data in January to look over the year, because we'll be able to see not just the last quarter, but the proper probably, potentially 2 quarters there. That'll be really interesting to see. Adelaide, 3.2% over the quarter, 6.7% annually. So still decent, still okay. Actually, again, quite good on the recent quarter. But again, I think it's a lot of that is sort of stemmed from that first time owner grant. The crazy thing was, like, it came into effect the 1st of October, but it was the 2 months preceding it that all the investors were like, well, this is coming. We're going to see it. This 6.6% over 5 years was absolute idiocy as a forecast. We literally would have seen at least 10% since the first quarter of inception. Right? So government, maybe just do a bit of give yourself an uppercut. Give yourself a double uppercut. 2 hands at once. Hobart, lackluster. 0.5% over the quarter, 2.4% annually. And then Darwin, 5.4% over the quarter. So equal highest with Perth over the quarter, 15.4% over the year. So highest performing market so far over the last 12 months. Again, it'll be very interesting to see what that data produces at the end of December 31st, heading into January. I firmly believe Darwin will be a 20% plus performing market across the whole city for 2025 as well. So, we throw in all those things before, like Darwin currently sitting with a median house price of 564,000. So it's got the lowest house price in Australia. It's got the highest incomes in Australia, if you accept ACT, but let's say second highest if you're including the ACT. Yeah, man. And like the amount of infrastructure projects that are in the city of a population of 140,000 people for a capital city of Australia with pretty much the highest incomes combined with the lowest house price. Like, it is an absolute pressure cooker. Like we talk about 15.4% for the year so far. That is definitely going to clip 20% plus annualized over the year as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to sort of watch that come to fruition. And then, exactly as I was sort of saying earlier too, like very firmly believe the next 2 years, Darwin's going to be the outperformer. The amount of owner occupied demand we see there as well is off its head. Combined, that infrastructure spending is crazy, man. Like, I can't remember the exact numbers. I think the Australian government's putting in $6 billion, and I'm pretty sure the US government is putting in $8 billion to build a massive defense base there to strike to China if required, if everything happens on the protection side of things as well, right? So we've got a $14 billion infrastructure project, along with your $30 billion solar plant, plus all your other stuff that goes on there as well. Plus there's also a bit of mining influence there to a smaller extent too. But man, like, you overlay all those things on top of each other, and then remember that it's a population of 140,000 people with the highest incomes in Australia. Like, that thing, again, pressure cooker for a massive, massive 2026 and beyond. So it's it's actually interesting though when you look at it across the board. Like, nowhere was in retraction. Like, no one was contracting. Nowhere was coming back. So very interesting to see in a year where interest rates are quite high, economy was like going a little bit sideways. Inflation playing its part as well this year. But man, to see the lowest. I mean, Hobart a bit low, but like quite a few places there. You got 3 that are double digits or above capital growth. Man, that's a strong year. So again, like I said, I think what we're going to move into next year, and that growth rate we're going to move into next year and beyond. And I think the run to 2030 is going to be very, very exciting. And yeah, man, it's going to be it's all systems go, man. All guns blazing. I'm really looking forward to doing we always do the property market predictions in February. We always drop that as one of the first pods into the new year of freshly recorded pods. So I'm really looking forward to getting around the round table and actually properly forecasting what we're seeing, especially when we'll have the inflation data out then. We'll see how closely it coincides with the rate cut, whether we do it before or after that. Because I think that will really set the tone for the year as well. But yeah, man, when we see that annualized data coming out in early January, it's be very, very interesting to see how the market's performed across the year nationally as well. So interesting times, man. Interesting times. But mate, that's it for me for a wrap. That's everything I wanted to snap out as well. Boys, girls, anything. Girls, boys, anything left to throw in. Brendo, mate, I feel like you got something else to throw in. You always got a bit of last minute wisdom.
A last minute wisdom, mate. Think about the question that I got so much at the start of the year was, is there any markets left that will grow? Well, there's the data, guys. Stop sitting on the fence.
Ooh.
Oh,
what a
wise
finish.
words from a wise man.
What a finish.
That's very good.
Let's wrap it up, Sammy. There's nothing else.
Jimmy, mate, you're looking a bit tired, brother.
I
Do you
am.
need a no-dose?
Yeah, I do. You
Okay,
got
no
me?
worries. Come here. Yeah, it's a slap. Come here. Listeners, thank you for tuning in once again for another round table to round out the year, being the massive year that was 2025. Team, thank you very much for joining me today for a killer session. I really enjoyed today. Listeners wouldn't know, but we had a very last minute power outage that we thought the power was lost, and everyone at the table ran downstairs to get away from me for the rage that I threw into. But beautifully, somehow the roadcaster did stop the recording, and we could finish off, thankfully, what I believe is going to be a great episode. So thank you very much, guys, for jumping in, joining us. Listeners, I hope you had a great listening experience. If you did, you took some great value out of today's episode, please send it on. Next week, guys, we have the favorite eps from yourselves that we've asked you guys to send in as well. So we can do the recap. We're going to be a bit of a fun ep to finish up next up. Yeah, guys, we're rounding out into the final eps of the year. So we want you guys to get ready for a big year heading into 2026. Congratulations to all of you that had big wins in 2025. And guys, until next week, that's another Scouting Australia podcast.